And welcome to Global Voice 2012 Radio. You're with your host, Denise, and we have Drake, Minutemen, Grammy J, and all of you to join us. Today is Wednesday, August the 22nd, and I understand we have a lot of news to share with you once again. Exciting things are happening. I want to just make a brief note that we are going to be using not only the Global Voice chat room that is available from globalvoice2012.us, but we're going to try and direct some chat room traffic. You can go to distractioncentral.com/chat, or you can go to chat.globalvoiceradio.net. And also on our Facebook page, we have shared with everyone different ways to connect and listen to the program if you are having difficulties with the player. I also wanted to note that Blog Talk Radio has apparently, I hope, fixed the toolbar issue in the playback portion of the program. And we hope that some of the other issues that have been arising are being worked on or have been fixed as well. So thanks, everyone, for coming, and welcome, Drake. Welcome, Rick, and welcome, Grammy.
Howdy, howdy.
Thank you, thank you.
Glad to have you all here.
Pleasure to be here.
Yes, it is. I've been doing a lot of checking on things, finding out what's going on, trying to keep my ear to the ground so that I can inform people what is really happening. It would seem that we have a multiple-staged insurgency in our country that is not good. I've been listening to several different people's take on these things, and tried to look around to find out what could validate or discredit it either way. I've been finding a lot of real interesting sorts of things. The thing that I'm noticing most is that most of this goes back to, I hate to say this, Islamics. And I'm not talking about the general grouping. I'm talking about some more specifics than this. Most of what I've found are pointing more toward people who would be most likely to be militant for whatever reason, and there's a lot of those. You can't have a war as long as we've had one without making enemies, no matter what no matter what anybody says. Then to go along with it, we got a guy coming up for re-election, and I've been doing some situational checking. I looked up the manner in which this translates into modern day from some of the older stuff. One of the things I found was that a ruler, or someone who is considered an accepted leader of an area or tribe or land mass, is known as a caliphate. Now, that is a basic combination: religious leader, moral leader, legal leader, and advisor to the people, supposedly. You find a lot of the warlords in varying areas accept that to an extent. Mostly you'll have one or two wise men within, say, specific areas, and they will basically offer tribunals, etc., over things that come up in terms of Sharia law and whether or not there should be actions taken and what those actions are. One of the things that I'm finding interesting is that a lot of people have heard about the countries without borders. Within that, you've got all kind of medical without borders, dentists, doctors, etc. You've then got international sharings, where you have exchange students, so that would put education in that same light. And back a few years ago, and it wasn't that long ago, everybody started getting up in arms. There was something going on, and everybody just hated it. Apparently, there was a secret treaty signed between Mexico, Canada, and the United States that would form the North American Union. One of the things that was to be done was to make a superhighway run from Mexico to Canada and offer a better exchange of goods within the North American Union. We were to have our own currencies and the whole 9 yards, the whole bit. The thing about this is that even though it's here, it's tied to other things. One of those things is the religious significance or numerical significance of dates. You've got a dated crisis generally that comes together when certain individuals take certain actions. Generally, I noticed that you have a crisis within 10 days of the time in which drastic action is taken by the cabal. I'll note that George Soros did so at a certain date, and I've mentioned this. Look at the date 10 days after he sold his stock and bought gold. You've also got another date section, and that deals with August 20th through the 28th. And this is supposed to be some sort of extreme or extraordinary crisis. My understanding is that things can happen anywhere on the planet under these things, these crisis situations. To go the step further, one of the hot spots is the Middle East. And the Middle East war plan, I don't know if you've noticed, but it has been accelerating, and it's been trying to be brought into reality by varying means and varying people. But you got that thing between Iran and Israel, and it was stated that somewhere along the time of this date, by the leadership there, that we would have a strike from Israel to Iran. And this has been confirmed in some ways that it's a probability. It's possible, more likely than not, because of the push in terms of the general mainstream media, you know, those people that don't tell anything that's worth hearing at all. And the reality of the situation being a little bit of a hot zone, not much, but it could be ratcheted up real easy. So I started looking at that, and I've been looking at that for a couple of days. I also started looking at some of the things that are going on and what the general direction of things might be. Because of the situation of my position as somebody who brings things to the forefront, I decided that some of the people that I deal with and I should, as we deal, start a continual barrage of documentation. And anybody that's looked at the site will see that. This is going to continue, and it's going to get more and more concise. There's also some written issues where people have responded to different things. There's a combination of the General Vallely's video, and that thing, I guess, everybody went nuts over in a certain amount, in a certain way. But you got to look at one thing. You got all these things. You got the euro having problems. We're having financial problems. You got this. You got that. If you look at it overall, what needs to be seen is the general direction that things are being pushed in. What exactly is really transpiring, and what might we do about it? Well, I am pretty thoroughly sold on the fact that it's time to take action. As soon as I said that, all of the military sources, each and every last one of them went, and they're still holding their breath. Now, they ought to be a pretty funny blue color by now, but they're out there holding their breath. It is silent, absolutely silent. Now, General Keane went on Fox News and didn't have any direct issue with the video that General Vallely put out. Now, there's only one problem with that. The direct issue is not with the video, it's with what it talks about. When things become subjugated, just like we have, and political position becomes a for sale item, those with the capability, either cash or whatever, to influence those, comes into play. Everybody knows that the political scene for a while has been primarily a financial one. Everybody also knows that different positions hold extraordinary power. There's been a whole bunch of outings on a friend of mine's show. It's called the Moretti Report, Underground, Freedom Underground. It's on Freedomizer Radio. And I'll put a plug in for her because what she's got is pretty cool. I definitely suggest people go listen to her most recent show, not tonight's, the one before, and listen to the one after it. You want to get the skinny on what kind of a mess is going on. We've got a combination of things happening. The combination is this. Most of the upper brass are vying for a probable political career because they are detached. These are your lawyers, these are your thinkers, these are your mucky mucks in terms of a combination of things, who know that they can use what they've learned in order to be a representative or something of this nature down the road. Now, what's interesting is that these people want to do the right thing. They want to get into this so that they can fix the problems. They have seen the problems. They recognize them. They definitely know what they are. There's only one little problem to this, and that is what's called the separation. The separation point starts at where an officer, irrespective as to rank, no longer is active in combat. Now, you know, you protect the king, you keep the generals out of the fray, you don't, they don't go playing with swords or shooting at people in the list, supposedly. The only problem with that is that they lose contact with the troops, the general troops that actually do the heavy lifting, people that do the impossible. And because of that, and because of the political scene, you get a combination of things happening. Number one is that the military is being denigrated, and I mean crapped on big time. That's what the Vallely video was about. When you out operational procedures, generally accepted tactical operations at whatever level, you need to have a darn good reason for doing that. We did it this way and we should have done it the way we're supposed to. That's acceptable. When you're going to start explaining things, that gives away the whole thing and puts people at risk, great risk. Because basically what happened was the leaks formulated the general operational procedure for special forces. And we have active special forces all over the place. And this is not cool. This is not kosher. I remember everybody getting really upset in the intelligence community and really scared. A lot of people quit. A lot of people went on permanent vacations and et cetera. when a certain wife of an ambassador was outed as a CIA operative. Well, I don't know if anybody's watched any TV, but it's generally a given that the relative or close family members of a family of an ambassador are generally intelligence operatives. This is a given. However, you don't go public with that. This is an example of a public outing. It became unsafe for that person to be anywhere but with the ambassador. And once you think about that, ambassadors are pretty busy, and this will give you a basic idea. Now, I have not gotten into some things on here that people ask me not to really expound on a lot, but we are at a crossroads. Now, I've stated in the chat room that it's time. I've stated this very clearly to several of these contacts that I have, several organizations and groups, and as soon as I did that, even the general scuttlebutt just dried up. Everybody went, ah. Okay. Now, if you want tyranny, the people fear their government. And generally, they don't have any recourse. Well, I don't know if you noticed the justice system lately isn't working too well. That'll give you a first. Number two, nobody that supposedly represents us listens to us or hears us. And these people do whatever they want, flagrantly in front of your face, and so what? What are you going to do about it, is the attitude. Very arrogant. And it's for these reasons that I'm covering this. People need to know. I keep saying we're at the end game. Well, we're a lot closer than you think. I'm not going to give you dates or times or time references or anything. I'm just going to start, boom. That's like these documents that are going up on a website and being sent to people that have subscribed to it, to the blog. People wanted to know. They wanted to see. There's a combination of things there that pretty much ought to answer any questions. And no, I can't take you to the places so you can see the gold. No, I'm not going to supply the documents directly to anyone. You're just going to have to deal with what we do have that is available that we can put out for everybody to do what they want to with. I found a lot of people, and I was really surprised at this. There was a certain person that decided they were going to be a legalist after they'd been a legalist for 20-some years. This is a secretary, and paralegals, they're good. I have known several of them, and I could not believe the manner in which their vocabulary could be turned into fine print if you asked them the right question. I mean, it is astounding to hear somebody talk like that backside of your insurance program, whatever it might be, or your credit card agreement. I mean, and, you know, I go, wait, what'd you just say? Can you put that in English? And I have had several of them say, well, yeah, parts of it, but most of it ain't English. I said, what do you mean? Oh, it goes to Latin, it goes to Old English, it goes to this, it goes to that. These things go back in the early 1800s, late 1700s. You know, I said, you got to be kidding. Really convoluted, really squirrely, really screwed up, in my opinion. Common law is supposed to be something somebody can understand so that justice can be equally applied. In other words, you got simplistic things for people, whether they're educated or not, so that anybody, no matter what their standard, stature, or education might be, can understand it. It might be, and might have to be read to them. I have still met people that don't know how to read. I've taught a few of them how to read because I figured they needed to and they wanted to learn anyway. So no big deal. But over a period of years, I've collected a lot of different things. I don't know if you've noticed, but everybody's a terrorist now. If you have anything to say adverse to the general policies of our government, That's number one. Now, Southern Poverty Law Center, a really great think tank, lumped a bunch of people in there and stated who it was. And then you got Department of Homeland Security. Oh, they agree with that list. They're going to expand it and make it bigger so they can make sure they get everybody. And then we got this idea, this fear-mongering idea that Big Brother is watching you. Well, if you go into some cities, it is nothing but a Christmas tree of cameras, and they are watching you. What's really funny about it, though, is that it's only been in the past couple of years, give or take, that the government, and I'm talking about traffic cams or other camera systems, have been put in place. The retail establishment has had these things for a lot longer. They watch where you go. They watch what you pay attention to. They watch how you handle yourself, and they see what you buy. In other words, this is the reason they know what color underwear you wear. They know basically where you put your keys down because you bought the table at a place. And where are you going to put that table, and it goes there. Oh, okay. Eventually, they figure out just about everything they want to know about you. This information is extraordinary. It tells exactly how far you drive to work. It tells you where you work. It tells what you do for a living. It tells you whether or not you like it, and the whole 9 yards. This is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of info, and this is just the fact that you know that you do not, and nobody has had privacy for quite some time. I want everybody to think about all these things, so I will make a point with it. Now, let's go back to the fun and games. Politics is primarily a backdoor system. You don't see the bribes going to people. You do not find out who is paid off through political contributions or in other ways, favors, or however that might be worked. But you can at times get a glimpse inside the system by watching what is happening. And if you'll take note, I mentioned about a bunch of kids coming in. I mentioned about this free ride amnesty program where you come down here, get in line, fill out the form, and you can get a green card and be legal. Well, I hate to blow everybody's bubble, and this is directly to the Latino and other communities. That's right. It ain't just Latinos. It is not just Mexicans. They're coming across the border. People are coming from all the way down in South America. Some of them are coming from the Middle East. Some are coming across the northern border from Canada. They come from the eastern, western Europe, and they make an airplane flight into Canada, and then they get off the thing and they go fishing for a couple of days and never come back. Now, our Canadian border is absolutely is terrible. You could run a B-52 through there and nobody'd notice it, and that's a humongous airplane in case somebody don't know that. Figure the largest airliner you've ever seen. Number two, we got all these problems, and we're watching the southern border, and yeah, but now we have an executive order that these people are not to be molested or bothered if they're here illegally. So therefore, we have just taken all the teeth and all the impact of all federal laws and dumped it into trash. Now, a nation without laws no longer is a free nation. I hate to inform people about that, but that's the way it is. When you have a political system where everything can be bought and paid for, you no longer have a free system, because he who puts in money says, you will do this much for this thing here and make sure that one works. These implied favors are the same thing as the implied contract that you have with your driver's license. You're required, when you sign that thing without prejudice, in other words, you don't put without prejudice on it, UCC 1-308, if you don't put that on there, you are agreeing to each and every last traffic law, even the ones that you don't know about, that have anything to do with driving, if they see fit to play games with you about it. That's implied contract. So, the American people have gone to sleep since the 50s, and this was going on to some extent in the 50s. Not nearly what we got now. It was a little different. We were chasing communists there for a while, way back when. Then things changed around. we started directly addressing that threat, so that one went away. And you had a thing called the Cold War. This is where your spy networks got set up, how to infiltrate a country, how to get in and out without being caught. These things have been fine-tuned, ladies and gentlemen. And I mean fine-tuned. There are a load of what you would call insurgents right here in the good old U.S. of A. And these are people that in a fair amount of cases are not just here to get some kind of relief. I know everybody thinks about the poor crop picker who's got too many kids and needs a little help here and there and could use a better job, and you want to help his kids out, so you send $5 or something to feed them. Well, that's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who just want to be here. And the reasons vary. They get a lot of excuses. A lot of these people, I'm not going to say a majority or anything like that, but a lot of them are here for a specific reason. You have what's called jihadists. Now, that goes directly to Islam, and I'm not talking about specifically the religion, but if you study things out, you're going to find that in each and every last religion just about on the planet anywhere, it states that you will disassociate yourself from people who do not believe as you do and do not worship as you do and do not accept whatever their beliefs are. You are further to maybe even drive them out, stone them. There's a whole bunch of different answers in there. In some cases, you're supposed to take direct actions, and those vary. But a holy war was hinted about. This has been a few years ago. Dick Cheney screwed it up because he was overheard. He said, "You're going out there to carry Christianity to these heathens, and you will be victorious." Pretty much a quote. I want you to think about that. You remember his position. Think about what his position was. Now, I want you to think about holy war. Here we are promulgating a holy war against people in their country. Well, I don't know if it's a holy war, is it? Well, think about it. There's two reasons for war and a lot of excuses. Two reasons are which side can afford to spend the most is generally your winner, unless the people with the money decide different. So it's a profit kind of game. Now, how do you get somebody to do something they normally would not do that is extraordinarily distasteful? Screws with a person's mind so badly that a lot of them commit suicide or lose it and disappear into the woods or some such of this. What kind of thing can drive a person? Well, the opiate of the people is religion. You should sit down, fold your hands, and pray when somebody comes after you. Well, that's all well and good if somebody's just upset and wants to holler. If you choose to sit down and pray, I don't have a problem with that. I do want people to understand that there is a difference between conscientious objection in its reality, in its true form, and people who want to be. I met a lot of those in Vietnam. A majority of them, excepting one or two, did pick up a weapon and defend themselves. There was one man in particular who was my best friend, who also died over there. He refused. Positively, absolutely refused. And something really strange went on. They didn't ever shoot at that man. Now, I want you to think about this. Everybody that has been in a firefight anywhere or seen a gun battle, they did not shoot at that man. He could stand up and walk around. They would shoot somewhere else. Just that simple. I saw him on several occasions protect families by standing in front of them and staring down a live AK-47 fully automatic, firing in his direction to keep him from hurting people. He's probably one of the bravest people I ever met. And there was no way he was going to pick up anything. He was going to do any kind of harm to anybody. Well, that was Doc Dillock. He was a friend of mine from Texas, one of the finest people I've ever met. He would aid all of us after a battle and turn right around and use up all the rest of his medical supplies helping the enemy. People could not understand that. What are you doing, man? I'm taking care of my job. I saw him tell several officers on different occasions what they could do with themselves because they decided they wanted to object. And according to the Uniform Military Justice, he was well within his rights of doing what he was doing. And he quoted it to him verbatim and said, "Sir, I don't think you want to try that because if you do, I'm going to bring you on charges." And turned around and went back to bandaging and alleviating pain and the suffering and whatnot. Now, one of the things they did in Vietnam that was a little different than had been done in other wars was to get these guys stoned on varying drugs. Pot was extraordinarily common, as anybody will tell you, and yet marijuana only has a certain amount of pain relief. It make you feel better in terms of your attitude. It's sort of like having a few beers or something in terms of getting stoned. You can get stoned on wine or beer just as you can on pot. It's a little different, but not that much. The other part was that people that really were in extreme pain, marijuana wouldn't help them. So what they did was they used powdered heroin because they couldn't get opium. Now, both of those are addictive, but one a lot more so than the other. Both of them burn when you put them in a wound, but burn in different ways. The opiate, when you put opium in, it burns, and then it also turns off any sensation. It's a local anesthetic, so to speak, kind of like what the dentist does to your gum before they stick you, and they got to do something nasty to your teeth. And you don't feel anything until, the next day, and you can't eat for about 2 weeks or something like that. However, when you use heroin, it burns like a mother, and it don't quit right away. It gives you a tingly feeling that's really extraordinary. And the reason I know this, I've used it on myself, and I've used it for other people. When you run out of painkiller, and somebody's got messed up pretty badly, and you know them, you do just about whatever it takes to make sure that they're taken care of. And on a one-time basis, one incident basis, it's not too bad. You don't have addictive problems normally. The same thing's true of opium if you can get it. The problem was that you couldn't get these things very easily, but you could get heroin like crazy. And what they did was the supply of heroin to the enemy troops, North Vietnamese Army that we were at contest with, was very well established, had been for years. What they used it for was they made sure that each person had some on them so that if they got hurt, they could administer it to themselves in cuts. The problem with heroin is that it gets into your bloodstream and it goes nuts, acts like a catalyst in a lot of ways. This is why when you see a person shoot up in the movies, when they pop that rubber band off their arm or belt or whatever it might be, they almost fall over. It's called nodding out, but they almost fall over right away. This stuff has an almost instant reaction in terms of that. First few times somebody takes the stuff, you puke all over the place. That's just how it is. So you got to really be insistent that you want to take heroin, or it don't work too well. Now, the interesting part about this, and the reason I'm getting to this, is that I stated that religion was the opiate of the people. Okay? Heroin is stronger than opium. A lot stronger. Now, I want you to think about someone who is raised from a small child to be and think and act in a certain way, to have the basic rules explained to them all of their lives, and then they become a young adult. Now, what exactly kind of person are you going to get? We're going to get whatever they were trained to be, and this is by general society, specifically the home, the society, general area they grew up in, what type of area it is. Now, I have been real careful, and I have a humanitarian side. I don't think that people ought to be inordinately screwed with real bad, picked on, dumped on, or molested just because of where they come from, their religious belief, or their clothes. It don't matter how funny they dress. I mean, you come from a place where turbans or hooded garments are the norm, and over here everybody else looks really odd to you, and you look really odd to them. It's kind of like meeting an ET or something that you've never seen one that looked quite like that before, and both of you are going to stare at each other. Maybe they haven't met a human before, and they'd like to study you, what you look like, too. I don't know, but this is normal. Now, there's been a whole bunch of fun and games back and forth about the stature and standing of different people in the administration, one of those being Barack Obama. Now, people that don't know what's really going on, I want to explain just a little bit of it, and I'm going to let everybody run with it. And, yeah, this is a little bit political. And, yeah, this ain't nice. The caliphate to North America is Barack Obama. He has fostered any kind of funny things, to include allowing people to come into the country illegally and then making them legal. He's opened the borders, basically, because he refuses to secure them. He has become, in and of himself, a walking national security issue. Now, don't ask me about it, ask Vallely. Look at the general's video. It states it real clearly. It also states that these are treasonous acts, especially when done on purpose, especially if they're not for any other good reason than I think I want to get reelected to office. So we're going to rise up the bow, and we're going to play the fiddle hard and get everybody dancing, and then we'll just march down the road, and everybody's cool. Y'all can vote for me. I do not see an easy way around this. And I've looked at it all day today, off and on, trying to figure it out. The problem we got is that this is not just our problem. The problem is that this is prolific in a whole bunch of different countries. And it's similar to what the persecution of the whole of Judaism has been about over the actions of a few, who, in my opinion, should be excommunicated permanently from their Hebraic race and roots, because they do not deserve to be associated. They don't measure up. It's like Hitler was Jewish. Oops. Everybody's heard of the Zionist, and they don't know what it is. Well, put it in your search engine and look up Zionist Communist. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's the same organization that helped Hitler decide that Israel should exist and helped him put the people there. This is the same group, organization, to help him get into power. And it's still there. Ain't nobody took it out. Why? Because there is a combination of efforts around the world. One of those comes from business. It's called corporate socialism. I think I remember mentioning something called the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and I've been checking on it, and everybody's having a difficult time getting any information. But I got some people digging, and they will come up with it. It's like the Neil Keenan thing. What all does it affect? What's going to happen? Are we going to have any money? Oh, my goodness. Whoo. Well, yeah, you're going to have money, and it's not going to be what you had before, and the banking system is going to be extraordinarily different. I don't know if they'll remodel the buildings, but what's inside them, definitely everything will get remodeled. And you're going to have a load of dirty, thieving crooks going to jail. Most of the foreclosures are BS. Why? Because there was a Ponzi scheme propagated against the people. Artificial price, intentionally, and there's records to that effect. That's what's really amazing about this. Nobody's found them. I would love to see some of that on the internet. Now I've seen a little bit, but not much. Some of these internal memos were extraordinary. I got to see a couple of them. Anyway, so you got this idea of corporate socialism. You got an idea that Mr. Obama might be an Islamist. Well, I'm going to tell you he is absolutely. I'm going to further state that we have a problem similar to what happened with the Hebrew race. We called them Jews. In terms of the histories, they've been run out of every country they've ever been in, just about. And there's a reason for that, but it goes and only is the responsibility of a few. These people, quite honestly, need to be taken out and dumped in the ocean and see if they can outswim a shark or something of this nature. These people ain't fit to be around nobody. Now, I don't say this lightly, but when you've got political arms of a legal-based operation that also operates extraordinary amounts of influence peddling, we call them lobbyists. They used to be loan sharks, among other things. A lot of these lobbyists, quite simply, are not a lobbyist like you'd think. I'm not sure if I'm coming through real clear.
I can hear you fine, Drake.
Okay. I just accidentally almost dropped the phone, and I grabbed it and punched a key, and it said funny things to me. So.
Yeah,
anyway,
you're fine. I can hear you okay, honey.
Some of the problems that we're looking at are going to seem like they're race-based. They're politically incorrect, and there's going to be a lot of people really get upset, and that's fine with me. But what we have is the same sort of extreme extraordinaryism that you find in all of the religions, and it's fundamentalist Christian, it can be Jewish, it can be or Judaism, it can be Islamic, it doesn't matter. But there's been a sort of difference between a lot of these. Everybody goes out to spread things in terms of what they believe. They want you to come to their church, and I don't know if the preacher put them up to it because he could use another buck in the plate, or if it's really a truly thing of getting the truth out. A lot of the times that blends together, can't tell the difference, so I don't worry about it. I feel like I'm in church 24/7 anyway, try to act that way. The gist of it is this. A lot of people have gone out. We had crusades, Christian crusades. Armies went out. They didn't start out as crusades. They started out as the king taking issue with somebody that's giving him a finger in a foreign country somewhere. And the king says, oh, no, you don't. So he sent some people over there. They met with a real serious problem, so he sent a bunch of people over there. And that's what basically started the crusades. And I don't care what the history books say. Those things are written for people to learn nothing. I want everybody to get that straight. Your educational system sucks canal water badly. They are teaching lies in a lot of places. Now, the other part of this is you had the war against the persecuted Jew. And, yeah, they were persecuted, but the problem was this. Each individual family or group of believers in any considered area is to do several things. They're supposed to follow what their religious teaching tells them to do. They're supposed to live in that manner so that they're an example to others, and they are to make sure that others also follow that example. When you find somebody that's screwing up real bad, you're supposed to take care of that problem. If you can't handle it, you go to the preacher. If he can't handle it, then you go to the bishop or wherever it leads until such time as you get to the highest authority and you're on your knees praying and God strikes the bad guy with a lightning bolt. That, to me, is pretty good, indication that he screwed up real badly. So, in that sort of light, you get the Jewish people, and they're actually Hebrew, Jewish people run out of a bunch of countries because of the way a few of them acted. This is something that's been going on forever. It was a combination of finance, influence, and the tightness of the Jewish family. As a Jewish person or a Hebrew, you are accepted into and protected by, and to a certain extent helped along in life by the whole of the neighborhood, the whole of the world that would be influenced under that. The problem is that the Jewish family turned its back on the problems. They did this quite a while ago, and they refused to clean that up. This is where you get problems from people who are too militant within that. These people would go in and start making demands, and when the officialdom decided that was enough, they told them to quit it, and they screwed up and did not shut up. It's sort of like trying to argue with an Italian woman or something. It don't work too well. I guarantee you, you're in trouble. So what happened was that these people got run out of countries for the brash actions of a few. And it's been that way forever. Then they finally got a homeland. Israel came up. And they got a place to go, and they could do their thing on their own. Then they grew up. And they started becoming influential militarily. They got to be influential as a country. Their trade area is not as great as it should be or could be. Right now their economy is not doing as great as it probably should. And what's interesting is that these people have some of the same problems that we do here. The economy is not treating the people well, and the people can see that the government is not helping take care of that problem. Where have you heard that song and dance before? Right here in the USA. Now, if it can happen there, totally different deal, and it can happen here, then we've got a commonality. That lets you know that the financial ideology of control is not limited to any one particular area. It's worldwide. It's global. So what I did today was study the global situation and look at it very closely. The global situation is simple. We have an extraordinary problem, and I'm talking about every nation that would be free of specific influence by people from outside that country, within our country, within Israel, within a lot of countries. The problem is the effort of the known jihad. That is where you are making your last effort. You got one sword in your hand, you're tired out, and you're going to charge an enemy of 50, 60 of them, and you know you're going to go. It's sort of a martyrdom. It's sort of a personal sacrifice to your God. And I understand that, and I've seen that happen in Vietnam. Some of these guys just said, I ain't putting up with this no more, and they jump up and run. Some of them made it, some didn't. But the idea is what's important. And the problem is this. There has been a holy war declared against each and every last country on the planet by jihad. And it's not limited to the United States. It's not limited to Turkey. It's not limited to Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran. It's in Israel. Oh, yeah. It's sneaking in. One at a time, two at a time, here and there. Now, if you've noticed, there's a diversification of population, specifically Islamic populations. This diversification is going to every nation that has had any freedom. Within the nations, as the population grows, you get places like Little Italy, Chinatown. You get Little Muhammad. Interesting. Think about that. Then the insistence is Sharia law. That is a jihad, or holy war, against any and all freedoms outside of that specific belief system. It's different than base Islam, but the base Islam has writings different than what you'll find in the Quran. Yeah, that's right. It ain't the only book. That book was developed for specific reasons. So things are things are moving and changing. And what everybody is going to have to think about is, what do you do about a problem that is worldwide, prolific, and deals with a lot of people that may or may not be, as such, militant, radical, or whatever you want to call it. But upon word, they can become so. And I'm not talking about, it's similar to our, it's similar to our resistance becoming a revolutionary war, shooting war, that type of conflict. And I really didn't like the idea of what I come across, but it is becoming more and more apparent as time goes on, and anybody really looks at it can see it. The problem is that you have hundreds of thousands of warriors all over the place, different countries, waiting to be told to do something. And it's not supposed to be nice. Anybody who does not agree with that particular individual, jihad is declared upon them. And they can either be dismembered with a machete or a sword, shot, hanged, whatever. It's up to the individual that's attacking. Now, there's been several attempts lately in different ways to formulate gun control. And I noticed an article by this lady that, I'm a doctor and I work in the emergency room, and you ought to see the mess that things make. Oh, we ought to get rid of all guns. And I thought, well, that's odd, you know, and I kept reading, and well, the doctor, you know, they got that thing about, you know, being cool, not hurting people and all that. And then I saw where this person lived. Now, most states are not terribly restrictive in terms of gun control. There are a few that are really nasty, and then there's a few that are sort of medium, and the rest of them, it's okay, pretty much, as long as you're not some kind of idiot who, you know, shoots up to town wherever he has a beer. So I looked at this article, and guess where it comes from? California, the tightest squeaky state in terms of gun control outside of Washington, D.C. and New York City. A whole state. You can't have a gun unless you're a cop, pretty much. You definitely have to have qualified reason to keep and bear arms in that state. And here is this person complaining about the gun violence. We need to get rid of all guns. Ladies and gentlemen, I propose that we use the laws on the books and do a number on these turkeys that think it's cool to have a gun in their pocket when they break in somebody's house, or are a felon and are not supposed to have one, and they know this, and they got a gun in the car. Tough. You knew better. You know, you're going to eat it for a while. These kind of people, we need to slap in the clink so that they don't hurt somebody they shouldn't be hurting. Okay, so back to the rest of this. There was another shooting outside of that theater, and it was at a religious place, and these people just happened to have clothes that made them ragheads as far as this particular person who supposedly did the shooting looked at things. Now, this is a radical fundamentalist. If you're not white, Protestant, and 21, you got problems. And if you're a woman, you mind your manners or you get slapped down. Ideologist, as I understand it now. This is what's been portrayed in the press. White supremacist and all this stuff. Whether or not all that is altogether true, and whether or not he just got paid for singing a gig in a band with a band that happened to sing those songs, I don't know. I didn't check on it any further because there's too much government involvement. The man at the theater was not supposed to survive. In case anybody ain't figured it out, he was not supposed to live through that. He was supposed to be been offed. Somebody screwed it up. Now he's alive, and they really got a problem. They're not sure what to do with him. He's being watched so close that if they kill him now, it's going to be pretty obvious. So, you know, what do? Well, you adjudicate the guy and put him away in solitary for the rest of his life, and hopefully he won't come up again. So you got these extreme things. First you got the government doing it to us, and then you got idiots that have lost it. Now, by calling somebody an idiot, the Greek word is idios. What it means is uninstructed. What it means is that the man did not have the correct information in order to make the correct decision and not do what he did, period. Now, whether he was put up to it or not, I don't know. If he was, then he did what he was supposed to. But most people don't do such things, period. They know better. So, what are we left with? We're left with Islamists. And these Islamists, and there ain't very many that are militant, and there ain't very many that are clergy, but they call the shots. When they say something, spread the word, it goes to each and every Islamist. Same sort of phone tree kind of extraordinarily fast communications that the Jews had to develop so that they could let Herbie down the road know that he was next and they were going to raid his place and he needed to go visit Mom. Exactly that. It's called survival. Okay, when you're in pitch battle and you don't have anything to work with but your hands and you develop what's called personal communications. And you can pass a note, you can run a phone tree, you can do it a whole bunch of different ways. But it's effective. And this was noticed and has been noticed since we've been at war in the Middle East. Iraq and Afghanistan. They noticed this thing. Little kid girl running down the path, and he's got nothing on him but one little piece of paper that says one word. That sort of thing. In a large city or in a free society at our level, you use telephone, you use phone tree, you can use Skype, you can use all kinds of different things. The gist of it is this, that when notified, these people take up arms of one form or another and go after everybody that is considered not part of their particular group. The infiltration is coming from both Canada and Mexico. A jihadist and an Islamic does not necessarily have a home country except Mecca. I want everybody to remember that. That is the only home country, only home area, only base. The problem we're facing is how do we deal with it? And it would be real interesting to have somebody who knows these things very well, really write a thorough piece on something of this nature. My first thought comes to mind in terms of a person to do that would be Gordon Duff of Veterans Today. He knows the area. He deals with security over there. He advises them, among other things. And I'd love to see that. Now I'm going to ask him to do a piece on this. I'm noticing it's like about 8 o'clock, and I was wondering if we could take a break, Denise.
We do that, Drake. I was just going to say, Rick, are you still with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just wanted to make sure, and we should have Grammy with us too. Okay, we're going to take about a 7-8 minute break, and everyone quench your thirst, and we'll be back. Okay, we are back. Let me open up the mics again. Drake, you're with us. Minuteman, you're with us. And Grammy, you're with us.
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a nice break.
Yes. Everything came out just fine.
Okay, Rick,
hey.
did you... Oh, go ahead, Grammy.
I said behave, Brother Drake.
Oh, yeah, behave, yeah. Okay, Rick, did you have something you would like to say before we get to our questions?
Well, sure. I want to make sure people are clear about what Drake was talking about. We're not trying to condemn any religion out there or anything like that. What we're trying to do is make our listeners aware that there is oppression and tyranny in all kinds of different sects within our nation right now. And they're radicalized. I know the government would like to say, well, you militia boys are radicalized too. I would say that, well, that could be correct if we ever decided we wanted to strip people of their freedom, their liberty, the right to live their lives the way that they feel like they would, they want to, as long as they're not hurting anybody. What we're against, folks, is oppression and tyranny of any kind. I haven't got nothing against somebody who wants to come here to America and live free. Heck, I'd welcome them, as long as they're going to adhere to American values. I mean, why would you come to another country and then not adhere to those values? Does that mean you got to, be successively oriented in any certain way. Well, no, because America stands for freedom and liberty. The right to be who you want to be, the way you want to believe, worship the God you want to worship, the whole 9 yards. I mean, it's all good. It's all fine. As long as you're not being oppressive with your ways. And, you know, Sharia law, folks, it's not even really a religion. It's a man-made way to oppress and tyrannize people. Does that mean that I dislike Muslims? No, it doesn't. I know plenty of fine Muslims out there. They're good people, come here to America to enjoy the freedom and liberty that they heard about, only to get over here and find out, well, it wasn't exactly what they thought. But, you know, I've known a lot of people from across the world that came here in the belief that they were going to be free and get to do things differently than they did in their countries, and come to find out when they get here, they're very disappointed. They start to see, well, wait a minute, you know, maybe the grass wasn't so green on the other side of the fence. Some of them even actually struggle to go back home after they've been here for a while. It isn't that people treat them mean, it's just they found out that, well, America isn't quite what they hear that it is. I think the bottom line to all this is, folks, is never hate or dislike anybody for their religious beliefs or anything like that, their personal beliefs, unless they're hurting people along the way. And I think it's our job as Americans to out that, to get that out from amongst us, not to let it, you know, get in to our political structures and stuff. I mean, I can think of a lot of other radical things that other religions do. You know, it's a pretty simple process. We all know here that our women and children deserve amounts or have the same rights and freedoms that anybody else does. Of course, your children, you got to kind of do things a certain way till they become grown and they get out on their own. That's a neat thing about America is American families should have been able to do that. Even that's been robbed from us now. I guess what I'm really trying to
interject something here, Minuteman?
Sure.
Thank you, sweetie. I think one of the main things that we all need to focus on, come to the center of the room, hug and put our differences aside. We need to put our color aside, our religion aside, and we need to understand that there are good and bad people everywhere, in every walk of life. Drake never intended to focus on an entire group of people, as most of our listeners know. He's referring to radical Islam, just like we speak of other groups in the radical form. And that's all I've got to say.
That's very well put, Grammy. And we want to make sure our listeners understand it's not just Islam that has its radical sides. Well, how would you identify a radical side? How would you identify bad people, you say? How do they treat their wife and kids, folks? You know, they slap their wife around and she's subservient to where she can't be herself. Does it make children do? Yeah, you know, things like that. And that's what I wanted to make sure that we were absolutely clear about, because I absolutely agree with Drake. We've got a lot of problems on a lot of fronts. A lot of fronts. That's why we've been so adamant about trying to motivate our listeners to get busy, quit complaining. Do like Grammy J said. Learn to love one another despite your differences.
I think that's one of the things, Minuteman, that's being misunderstood. What we are trying to say, it doesn't matter whether I'm white, black, purple, what my religious belief is. I am begging all of you, we the people of the world, to come to the center of the room. We all choose whether we wish to be a good or bad person. I choose to be good. I choose to try to be the best I can be. If this is what you choose, come to the center of the room. Put everything else aside. Put your arms around one another. If we have to defeat the radicals in Islam, let the good Muslims stand next to us and help us do that, etc., etc. It doesn't matter who we are or where we came from. Lock arms for peace.
Very well said, Grammy. And I think that's about all I need to say tonight.
Okay, there's a problem with all this. And this is the part people don't get. A lot of people want to have peace, and most people don't want to fight, or there'd be a lot more of it. Problem is that we're coming to a point where the fight's going to come to us in a lot of ways. And part of what I did on the show tonight was give people an idea as to what is basically going on. The things that I told you about are all either historical or presently happening. The difference between what we had in the past and what we have to shoot for, I'm waiting to hear from command as we speak. Now, the situation is that I am going to start being extraordinarily insistent on specific actions being taken. We have a combination of a lot of people out there who have a little bit differing views. A lot of people are intelligent enough to know the difference between being stupid and taking a definite or definitive action towards a problem. The problem that we're facing is not going to be without bloodshed, I can tell you that now.
Unfortunately.
This is part of the plan against us. It is going to be tried to come about to rioting, shooting at people, the whole 9 yards. If people do that, they'll be shot. You can forget the rubber bullets, because at a certain level, when things start getting out of control, there's been a change. It goes from the bean bags and the rubber bullets to live fire. This will create, on one or two instances, in, I'm going to suggest, large cities. It could be anywhere. Do not overreact to things so that it either gets to that level. If it gets to that level, I guarantee you it was not provoked. It was a given order. There won't be very many of the opposers who have weapons who will use live fire. It'll only be a couple, 2 or 3. At Kent State, there was one shot fired from a .25 automatic. And the reason I know that is I know who fired that shot. That person's in prison for it. That person caused the death of several people, innocent people. He got a real nervous guard. A couple of them had live ammunition and chambered. They weren't supposed to. And when the shot rang out, they did a knee jerk and pulled the trigger. And that's what happened. You want to take this further, I'm going to suggest that we be very careful in what we do, that people understand that on short notice, I will probably be one of the people contacted to let people know what the general directives are. In other words, what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to go about it. And in individual states, and I've mentioned this, form community groups, form a lead person in your state. It can be freedom, it can be anything you want to call it. That person will need eventually to be in contact with a local militia, because they're going to be the second to be notified. Each of the people in charge in areas in individual states will be notified from there. to be included in actions that need to be taken, each individual will be needing to be in touch with these people so communications can be given. I can't stress this enough. We're at the point of taking tactical action. It's very close. So be prepared for that. It may be just a few days. It could be a few weeks. It could be a month. I don't know yet. As soon as that information gets to me, I will make sure that everybody gets it. Now, the promise I make to the military is that I will not divulge information that will endanger anybody who gives me that information. And I'm making that announcement on this show because I know they're listening. We're recorded, among other things, and dissected to go along with it. So, the patriotic people, either civilians, militia, military, whatever your standing or stature, you need to keep your ear to the ground. If you find something coming up, you might see it before everybody else. Make a phone call. Find somebody that you can call so that that word can be gotten out. It's starting, or whatever. Now, it's supposed to start all at the same time in several different places at the same time. You cannot do that by accident. It's got to be on purpose. And anybody that doesn't know, you think about it. How could you get New York, Chicago, L.A., and New Orleans all at the same time? You can't, not unless it's organized, and not without permission. So you need to be well aware. You need to keep your ear to the ground. You need to watch. Everybody needs to heighten their awareness. You need to ratchet it up a notch. Look at what's going on. Be very aware as to who is traveling around the neighborhood that you don't know. Things of that nature. So, with that, I'd like to go to questions, unless somebody else has got something to add.
Rick, did you have anything you need to add?
Oh, ma'am, I'm quite clear on
Okay,
everything.
because we have a bunch of questions. And I do mean bunches. And we have 100 callers on hold.
Okay, let me add something here. I got a thing from a listener, and it shows the legislation, House bill that was put into place in 2000, I believe, that talks about weather modification by use of both electronic and chemtrail activities. I'm going to see if we can verify this, and if it's real, then it's going to go on the website so people can see it's real. Anybody don't know it, the proofs are going to be coming. Okay.
Okay. I think I did see some questions coming up about that, Drake.
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's start with question number 1 here. All right. Okay, Drake, I have a question. My daughter just got her student loan money for college. She has enough to pay for her books and pay off her $800 credit card. Should she wait on the credit card, or also if she waits on the credit card, she was going to actually loan the $800 to my husband to pay off our car loan on his 401k so that we can get money, $4,000 or something out of the, to buy junk silver. This will take approximately 2 weeks, though. Should we wait on everything or just hang on to the cash? Do you think we have time to do as planned?
That sounds like an interesting plan. I'm going to suggest that everybody out there that's got that sort of thing they're looking at to try to take care of a combination of things. And by that I mean if you pay minimum on a couple of different things in terms of a loan or an obligation instead of a nice fat payment or paying something off, you can have extra cash to get a hold of silver coinage or whatever, extra foodstuffs. It depends on your individual situation. And I am going to have to express that I will not be getting into a whole bunch of specifics on that. I cannot make decisions for other people because I don't know the whole situation.
Right.
So therefore, you're going to have to kind of play it by ear, see what your best option is, and act accordingly. Okay.
Next question, Drake. Okay, I am thinking about going into the Army National Guard as an officer. With the events that are taking place right now, should I wait until after everything goes down, or should I just go ahead into the military as currently is? I want to go, but I know it will be different once these events take place.
It depends on whether or not you're suited to military life. That's number one. And that's not easy to understand until you go in. Going in as an officer or at an officer level does give you certain advantages. It does not protect you from the system. Nobody is protected from the system. Right now the system is so prolific that nobody can get away from it. You'll hear about people that go off the grid. Well, I hate to tell you, you're on the grid. They know where you're at.
Yeah, there's nobody truly off.
I mean, there is no way that you can absolutely fully escape unless you live in a cave somewhere and eat off the land and nobody knows you're there. Then you're off the grid. So it's up to the individual. If you're better suited for military life or feel an obligation to partake of that, do so. If you feel like you should possibly hold off, and you're asking me to make a prediction because events are coming up, I'm going to stipulate several things here in just a couple of minutes that deals directly with that. Next question.
Drake, I have a question. May I interject it, please?
Go.
We have a young lady out here on Facebook that's really confused. Her name is Tricia Elizabeth Artis. She said, I don't want to have to leave this group, but it just feels absolutely acidic to me right now. Especially, I feel there's been a switch in the overall energy of all of this. I would feel more easily supportive if Drake was speaking this way last week, and the week before that, but he was not. It was all sugar and spice, in her opinion, of course, and now it's bloodshed and bullets. I would submit a formal question, but I'm not sure it could be answered in time now. So if any of the moderators see this, would you please ask Drake why the drastic difference in tone of all of this? Thank you. She posted it a minute ago. I'd say that's a pretty fast answer.
Yeah, it don't get much better than that.
No, it doesn't. Dear brother, please explain to her that something has changed.
Well, there's several changes that have been going on. And this goes to the thing I was going to also add. As people know, we're coming to the end game, and you can put that on a date. You can say this, that, or whatever. There are a variety of things, and by that I mean several, totally different, disconnected from one another, but yet just almost equally important items that are getting ready to happen. These items are going to shake the world as we know it. There's going to be some changes and differences after the fact. The combination of governmental structure, its very existence in a lot of cases in terms of how much is going to be left after you start cleaning the house, what is really needed and what isn't, and whatever isn't can go. The idea of finance, the idea of a civil society where those people who misuse the privileges are going to be held accountable, period. Doesn't matter who they are. It don't matter what they were doing. You mess it up, you're going to have to deal with it. This is the idea. Okay, being in the end game puts a lot of pressures on a lot of people. Everybody feels squeezed. Now, I have been doing, as I said, a whole load of checking and testing and finding things out. Right now, the channels of communications have been closed to everybody. This happened a day and a half ago. Something big is in the works. I ain't sure exactly what it is. Don't really care. But I can tell you this. It's been hinted that my safety is at stake by me staying where I'm at, doing what I'm doing. And so, not to make a challenge, but to just let them know that I am proficient with firearms, and I do have a few, if that's what it comes to. I'm not going to run from my country. I'm not going to leave. that ain't happening. You ain't running me off.
God bless you.
The thing about it is simple. You back somebody into a corner, and even though they've not really fought ever in their life, they start getting hurt a little bit. You're going to deal with a cornered wildcat. That's just how it is. They will fight tooth and nail, everything they got, for that last little inch of space. The problem we've got is that the game keeps being changed as we play it. The dates of actions and effective conditions keeps getting shorter and keeps moving around and changing. The reason for that is that the bad guys, the cabal, whatever you might want to call them, are cornered. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a heck of a fight to clean that corner out. And I'm going to tell you that also they're going to send out little patrols as they can, if they can. And I'm pretty sure they can. They're going to send out little patrols come hunting people. So I'm going to tell everybody be aware, heighten up your awareness. They call it supervigilance. I'm kind of lucky. I do live in the woods. There are a load of frogs around here. Anything about the size of a possum or a cat walking through the woods, and those little frogs shut up. I can tell exactly where something's at a distance. To go along with it, I'm surrounded by hunting dogs. If they hear any kind of a friggin' noise, a popping twig or something like that, they go off. So I got a built-in burglar alarm system. That's pretty cool. I definitely appreciate it. But there's a lot of people who live in suburbia. They ain't got a lot of frogs and stuff like in the woods. There's a lot of people who live in the city, which is kind of subject in a lot of ways. And you'll notice that two things have happened. The suburbs have been being abandoned for one reason or another. People are moving into the city and or living in their cars, things of this nature. The only place that they have the opportunity for employment is where there are large groups of people. This means that the cities are slowly drawing down the population in the country. That is not a good deal. We don't have farming that way, we don't have ranching that way, and we don't have a younger generation who has the capability, as they're coming up, to take the place of those who die, retire, can't do it anymore for their age or whatever. The problem is this. You squeeze people together, they tend to get upset about any little old thing. You put people in tight quarters, and you see a lot more gunplay. You see a lot more violence in general. When things start actually popping, I'm going to suggest that the cities are not a place to be. You need to go out in the suburbs and camp out in somebody's backyard if it starts happening. I would not suggest stopping at suburbia, actually. I'd go out a little bit further into the country and see if you can't find a place where a farmer don't mind you setting a tent up on the corner of his property somewhere. And I'm making that suggestion for everybody in a large city. Yeah, I know, mass exodus, and what am I supposed to do in the meantime? Well, as I said, you need 2 or 3 weeks, definitely 2 or 3 weeks of ready cash, or enough to see you make a journey wherever you're going, one of the two, and be able to hold up when you get there. This requires food, generally a truck, a lot of people ain't got all that. You can do this in groups, doesn't matter. We're at the point of getting down to survival. And as I stated, there might be some extraordinary upsets. Might just not be anything. No gasoline delivery, no food delivered, nothing going to the 7-Eleven. Think about it. The bad guys are going to do everything they can to make it as rough as possible on their way out. It's sort of like when you start losing a chess game or a checker game. You do as much damage as you can, and when you're done, you're done. So you can feel the static. You can feel the tension in the air. if you go outside right now, if you're sensitive to such things. As I said, something big is coming. Nobody's saying what it is. I'm sure there are people that definitely know absolutely what it is. I have had several different rumors, and that's what they're going to be. Rumors that I've heard, and I'm not going to say what they are. It would be stupid. So what we're looking at is each and every last individual who can hear my voice and the people that you care about who will listen to you, you might want to spread that message to make sure you got extra groceries. Make sure you're ready. Toilet paper to me is a hot commodity, so I mention it a lot. The time for the fun and games, and I did a couple of shows on envisionment, spiritual awareness, things of this nature, so that people would know and that they could maybe affect this. Those who do not feel comfortable with guns, those who do not feel that the idea of shooting people is cool at all, should definitely listen to those two shows. They explain to you what the spiritual connection is, how to use it, and what you can do with it in terms of affecting situations and people. For the rest of us, make sure your gun's oiled and you got a lot of ammo. You have to need it. The closer you are to a large population center, the more critical it's going to become that you have some sort of weapon and sufficient ammo to hold off a crowd. Whatever it is that you end up being aligned with, that means the comfort of the fit, the way the thing fires, and your capability to use it or handle it. Those are the considerations. Then the secondary consideration is the amount of damage you do with that weapon if you need to use it in the way I'm talking about. Shotguns do an extraordinary amount of damage, and most everybody can put one against their leg and fire it, even little kids. So this is something to consider, and be sure you got some food. Be sure you got a what's called a grab bag or boogie bag. If you think you're going to need to leave, do so before it hits the fan. You're not going to get anywhere after the fact. The roads are going to be clogged, and or you're going to have riots all over the place, and you ain't going to be able to get anywhere. If you go outside, you get shot. There's too much involved in that. If you know something's coming, you can feel it. All of a sudden there's a lot of police around. Maybe it's time to take a little drive out in the country. A few blocks away, maybe up on a hill, and watch, see what happens. And if you're out of there and you're safe, and it does start happening, you're far enough away to get away. So there's your situation. I'm going to tell you that I didn't want any violence. I don't like the idea of bloodshed, but there's a good possibility that may come about. I'm hoping that people pay attention to what I've stated so that they do not get caught in the trap of becoming violent unnecessarily. That's the key. Let's go back to questions.
Okay, well, I hope that answered her question. Okay, let's see. Let me get back to where we were. Okay, Drake, it appears that people like Corvine have been given a get-out-of-jail-free card. What can we do to stop that type of craziness? How has so much money disappeared?
It's simple. Thief has a big trunk or a truck, and you pack it up full of money and you drive away with it. You got a bunch of people that are thieves. J.P. Morgan was loaded with them. Still is in some ways. You got people that are not being attended to by a broken justice system. What do you expect? I mean, look at Eric Holder. I mean, he ain't in jail yet, and he should have been a long time ago. What can we do about it? Well, we're going to have to set the country free in order to attend to these specific matters. And this is what this show is about. I want everybody to be aware. I want everybody to spread the word. I want people to think about what it's going to take in terms of what their personal effort will be. How much are you willing to spend to be free? To make sure your kids don't live under tyranny. To make sure you got grandkids that can run around in your front yard and not have to be afraid of a cop coming up and busting their head just because you're there. These are the things to be considered. So there you go.
Okay. All right, Drake, 3 tropical storms / possible hurricanes headed straight for Tampa. Seems very suspect. I lived in through almost 20 hurricane seasons, and never has a hurricane hit its, quote, mark. That was the indicated course, though. To add to this, Louisiana is having an unprecedented cool spell with highs only in the 60s and 70s, which could be the pressure system to invite a hurricane in that direction via Tampa. Is this a HAARP event or weather manipulation? Do we have any good guys in the Pentagon or NOAA that could be in charge of this?
I wish that we could just flip the switch and turn them off. That's not the case. Now, I just told you about legislation started in 2000, 2001 that authorized people to do this sort of thing. So what you're dealing with is a situation that can only be attended to when we have set the country free. Most and each and every last question is going to revolve around freedom, because that's the only time that you're going to get to clean up the mess. This is the only time that the people will have the power to stipulate how things are going to be. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I will I disagree, too, with none of the other hurricanes hit their mark. Katrina did, and it passed right over the BP oil well, and that was the excuse for some of the problems that caused the BP oil spill, etc. So they've been doing this for a while. Okay. Let's see. Okay, this question is for Rick Light. The 3%er group I belong to's commander specified that you, Rick, are a government plant. Please don't take this personal, but I am only presenting what has been presented to me. Also, a member, St. Orange? Or maybe it's St. Orange. I don't know if that's a typo. Are you with us, Rick?
Yeah, can you hear me?
You're breaking up really bad.
Well, how about now?
That's better.
Okay. Well, I don't know why the 3%er commander would say something like that unless, well, maybe he's got one of them little ego problems that we know that run around. I know there's been a lot of stuff going around, stuff like that. That there is, well, do your homework, people. If we all know there's a lot of disinformation out there. Look at the things that's said about Greg. Look at the things that are said about a lot of people. Does that mean they're right? Here again, government people or bad government people, whatever you would want to call them, the people that set people up, encourage them to do bad things. So I would say examine what I've always asked people to do and, well, judge me accordingly.
Okay. All
May
right.
I say something, please, Denise?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm an outsider looking in on that question, and I'd like to answer that. We've all been lied to about so much for so long that it's difficult for some people to believe anything anymore. That's one set of the people. They're innocent victims. Some of those people are actually paid to spread disinfo about truth speakers. So now it gets down to follow your heart, listen to your heart, and you will know the truth, and it will set you free. And we will not be offended if you do not believe us. That is your choice. God bless all of you.
Thank you, Grammy. Very well said. Very well said. Okay. Next question, Drake. What's going to happen to the welfare system and the people who are like unjustly getting welfare now? Are they going to continue to be able to not work for it and just have, get handouts?
I have expressed that there's extraordinary technology coming. This comes in a whole bunch of different packages. One of those deals with health care. Now, those people who are saying this hurts, that bothers me, I can't do nothing because of this. These machines, devices, and systems definitely can read pain. and other things. They can also read the things on a psychological basis. We can already do that. Some people aren't aware. And tell whether or not somebody's being truthful on other things. You can tell whether or not a person has a specific problem according to brain activity. That's common knowledge now. These machines are extraordinarily advanced. So what you're going to have is there's going to be a weeding out. There's going to be a combination of things. Welfare, first of all, needs to be standalone. It's being taken out of Social Security. It's one of the largest drains on Social Security. Medicaid, being a welfare medical program, also comes out of Social Security. Those two of themselves are one of the largest expenditures Social Security has outside of the actual checks. So, as that's first of all separated, and secondly, seen to, in other words, this is an emergency deal. It can be long-term, but it has to be shown to be valid in terms of a claim. Then these machines will be used to determine whether or not that claim is valid. Just that simple. So, no, you're not going to have a lot of these scam artists, people playing games with the system in order to get a monthly check because they don't want to get out of bed.
Good. So the American public isn't going to have to pay for these people who are making false claims and not working and just, staying at home and living on welfare and living off of everybody else's hard work.
Exactly. Now, there are a couple of things that are going to change. The taxation system should not be there. Anybody that's a good economist can look in this and into it in terms of its validity and whether or not and where the money goes, and they can determine that same fact. Okay, so where do you get the funds to operate from? What you do is you take a certain portion of a yearly funding and you put it into what's called a platform. It's a trading platform. Trades in almost everything known. The trading platform can supply sufficient return so that even the federal government could operate at its present level and not cut the DOD's budget. But you take that DOD budget and a portion of it and put it into this. You put a certain portion of it into it so that you get the return that equals what the budget is. Then you have something that is self-sustaining. This is what Social Security was supposed to have been. And welfare and Medicaid, not Medicare. Now, Medicare is actually, and should be, probably redesigned a bit, but it's supposed to be an insurance. And it's supposed to also operate in a general fund as a payable annuity so that you accrue a combination of interest as well as, in combination with payments in, sufficient funds so that the principal's not screwed up. That's the same idea with Social Security as it was supposed to have been. A good analogy of problems that are created by our government is the Postal Service. As soon as the federal government started snatching all their funds, they started going into red.
Yeah.
I just will leave that just right where it lays. I think that is a good deal to look at. Next question.
Okay, next question is, Drake, what, if anything, is going to be done or is being done about the underground bases in cities and the ones also built underwater, such as Dulce and New Mexico? Will they be used by us?
No. Those are probably going to be closed and the material that was used in them removed. There's not going to be any reason for that. The idea was that we were going to have an extraordinary global disaster. Well, the global disaster should be here any time now, and it's not going to be a global disaster. It's going to be quite a ways from Earth. You'll be able to see it. It is going to have effects, and I'm looking at those in positive manner, where it is more of a beginning than an ending. You will have a little bit of seismic activity from it, but not much. You will have certain other things, such as statics within the atmosphere. You're going to have northern lights get a little brighter than usual and this sort of thing. And it will help with the planetary alignment in our terms of our solar system that is supposed to take place. So I look at it, all of it, as an advantage. And as I said again, new beginning. So take it from there.
Okay, Drake, are there still bases on Mars and the Moon?
Yeah, they've been there for quite a long time. And those things are being attended to in several different ways. Outsiders are not allowed to enter, and insiders are not allowed to leave. So a lot of the doorways have been slammed shut in people's fingers. Next.
Okay. Yeah,
Drake,
I think that would...
I'm sorry, Denise. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I just want to quickly ask a question that's out here that was posted 2 minutes ago. Is there military on the border right now, Drake?
Yes.
Question answered, Mark Whitney.
Okay. Okay, Drake, let's see, where was I? If the system is so close to reformation, then why don't more celebrities in America talk about it? Would celebrities have access to spaceships and anti-gravity technology?
Well, absolutely, and they do know about it, and they are very aware, and they're also very controlled. Now, I want you to think about that very closely. One of the first things taken over by the socialist business regimes were entertainment. That was taken over just shortly after the McCarthy era, when they were chasing all the Reds and the commies out of everything. Well, they sort of missed a big one, and so, yeah, they know about it, but they're not allowed to say nothing.
Okay. All right. Drake, what happens if the RNC gets canceled, i.e. a hurricane, particularly in regards to Ron Paul?
Well, I guess I'll have to reschedule it. I don't know how to answer that in terms of what people want me to do. They want me to tell them what the future's going to be and a whole bunch of things that I could do, but I'm not going to. It ain't because of inaccuracy or anything else. It's because it's not my place to do so. Now, the RNC probably is going to get wet if they have it. From what I can see of the storm track, it's supposed to go right dead across there. So, you know,
right.
Maybe they'll move it to the other side of the state. Maybe NASA's got some empty buildings over at Cape Canaveral or something. I don't know, but think about it. You know, there's a lot of possibilities.
Sure
okay?
they do. Okay. Okay, this next one is over my head, but we'll see. According to Alex Collier, a Milky Way galactic war has been raging involving Earth's allies, primary against the Alpha Draconians and Orion Star Empire. Do you know if that war is over?
Parts of it are and parts of it are not. Next question.
Okay. Okay. Why should we worry about our health, such as eating healthy foods, not doing drugs, exercising, etc., if technology will soon be released that will be able to repair our bodies? Well, we should always take care of our health regardless.
Well, you got to think about it in real simplistic terms. Do you want to be walking down the street and have something fall out that you probably don't want to show to the world? So if you don't want those kind of results, my suggestion is that you keep it in as good a shape as possible so that it's not so strenuous on you when they put you in a machine and turn you on. Okay?
Yeah. Okay. Drake, are you familiar with an individual that goes by the name Erasmus of America?
Yes, I am.
Okay. How valid is this guy?
That depends
he apparently
on what
posts on Nacera News.
That depends on what he's talking about and the specifics involved. I have not found but just 2-3 people altogether that really know what they're talking about. Erasmus is sort of accurate. He's one of those sort of kind of maybes. You want to get really inaccurate, you want to get a lot of disinformation in horse hockey, you listen to the Galactic Federation of Light or some of these other channelers, and I think I stipulated that channeling is screwed up. This is not the way ET contacts people, for one thing. Number two, it's a dirty form of contact. And number three, generally grossly inaccurate. So you go from there.
Okay. Next question. Last Wednesday, Drake, you said on one of the next 2 Thursdays, something big was going to happen since last Thursday had passed, That leaves tomorrow for something really big to happen. Can you comment?
Yeah, I'm hoping that that prediction was accurate. It was given to me by certain people that are supposed to know. It could be within a few days either way.
Okay.
I was told a certain specific, and that did happen, but it was not the event they were looking for. Now, that was a small asteroid that went by. We got a bigger one coming. You might want to look at NASA and ask them exactly where this sucker's at. It's pretty good sized, and this is the one I'm talking about in terms of an event that will cause some problems here, but nothing major. So,
okay.
you know, look at that, and then they should, you know, it should be fairly accurate by now because it's fairly close. Okay?
Okay. Drake, please provide a brief update of the status of the foreign military, such as Russian, Chinese, German, Muslim Brotherhood, etc., that are reportedly have entered the USA. Many of them are speaking perfect English, we understand. Dove of Nasera fame now apparently has passed away as of May 2010. At one point around 2004, have written that foreign soldiers had come in secretly through underground tunnels at the borders and would at that point be removed.
That sounds like an interesting question. Most of the tunnel systems and most of the fun and games are known, and they are being watched very closely. Some of the tunnel systems that used to be used have been closed, and by that I mean using a combination of explosives and concrete. You're not going to go through there very easy. So you know you're dealing in an area that is not, first of all, well known. I've got maps, or have had maps of all of them. They're available on the internet. There's also what's called auxiliary maps that show where things have been closed, where they're having structural problems. So you can kind of get a feel of it from there. Now, some of these are marked in a certain way with a number that shows that they've been abandoned because there's nothing in there now. So pick A, B, or C and run with it.
Okay. All right. And to extend on that question, are they here as friend or foe? And also, is Vladimir Putin a friend or foe to the American people?
Some of the troops that are coming in are supposed to help us. I don't really know. Haven't talked to them. The intel that I got was that some are friendly and some ain't. So you got to kind of, I don't know, switch hitter there. Putin is supposed to be. Putin is all about Putin. He's also all about protecting Mother Russia. And so long as we don't antagonize the man, I don't think we're going to have problems for several reasons. He is supposed to, and in my opinion, is a very good representative of the free peoples of the globe. So that's my opinion. And if somebody would like to check the legal changes made in the base structure of Russia, they will get a much better view as to how free the Russian people are going to be very shortly.
Okay. Next question is, the best and subtle way to be taken over is to be co-opted. So my question is, has American National Militia, We the People movement already been taken over by the Republicans and corporate communists?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't give them a foothold. They try to get their fingers in the door, I'll squish it with a hammer. I am not going to play with those turkeys, period. I don't care who they might think they want to be. I don't care what their powers are. You mess with it, and I will cause them more problems than they know what to do with.
You get one hand, I get the other, brother.
Thank you.
Okay. Also reported 400 million rounds of ammo. Boy, that number has just fluctuated up and down and all over the place. But anyway, also 400 million rounds of ammo recently bought by Homeland Security is to be given to the Russian troops by Homeland Security for the attack. Any comments on that, sir?
Yeah, I'd say that's BS.
Okay.
We might give them the old ammunition, but we ain't going to give them the new stuff, I guarantee you that. Homeland Security is also supplying a lot of military, as well as a lot of security force. 750,000 rounds of hollow point ammunition for Social Security. Well, yeah, they got their own police force, but the question is this. You got a bunch of people that know a bunch of people. They just happen to work in, say, security, or they happen to work in an office. the armed IRS agents, I don't know if everybody kept up on that. What are we going to do? We're going to have people running around shooting everybody? You didn't pay your taxes. Boom. I mean, you know, are these people going to actually have the kahunas to, you know, to shoot their own people? You know, it's going to weird out to a certain point, and then it's going to go poof. And I think we've gotten to the point where we are at the break point, and we need to start taking action. This is why I've been pushing real hard on contacts to say, hey, you know, let's go. And it's also the reason that I have been stipulating that it is at the time where we need to tactically make sure everything's the way it's supposed to be. This is the reason I have been requesting flag officer contact in a direct form recently. This is the reason I have contacted a whole bunch of different groups. This is the reason Rick Light and I are as tight as we are in terms of information we provide the militias. We do not want to play wild goose chase or run people around for the fun of it. This is too serious to play games with, so that's where that's at.
Okay.
I would like to add something to that real quick. Look, folks, it's starting to get out that there's a bunch of corruption in the Homeland Security thing. So be paying close attention to that. A lot of trouble going on amongst that particular, what I call bastardized entity or law enforcement entity in the United States.
Okay. Drake, we're at the top of the hour. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Rick. Drake, we're at the top of the hour again. Would you like to take another 5-minute break or so?
We can do that.
Okay. We're going to take 5. Okay. We are back, everyone. Thank you for sticking with us, and we have lots of great questions coming up. You ready, Drake?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, for Drake, when all is said and done, are you going to take some time off and take a vacation?
Now, that's a good question. I've got a combination of offers to do things, and I'll probably try to put them in as sort of a part-timer and instead of doing what I'm doing right now and full-time. We'll go from there.
Yep. Yeah, me thinks that there will be work to be done still. So.
A lot of it.
Right.
That's a lot of it.
It won't be a vacation in the sense, yeah. Okay, okay, Drake, I thought I picked the positive timeline. A holy war doesn't sound very positive. Is there a war on the positive timeline?
No. But what you have to remember is that the people who would want to keep the negative timeline are going to fight you to keep it that way. A lot of people have been caught up in the idea of the government taking care of them, the nanny state as it's been referred to. And a lot of those people are going to have a rude awakening in the fact that the idea of someone being your nanny is not going to be the case any longer. That is one of the extraordinary changes. That does not mean you're going to go doing without or anything. What it means is that the basis of it is going to change extraordinarily. So get ready, it's coming.
Okay. Okay, if the same crooks such as Soros, Queen Elizabeth, Beatrice, Merkel, Bush, Rothschilds, etc., are allowed to buy vast amounts of gold and land, what's not to prevent the crooks from rising again, attempting to accomplish what they have already started?
Oh, good question.
Just as they have stripped us naked, we get to do it to them now.
Mm-hmm.
That ought to sort of prevent all that.
Okay. All right. In regards to the monetary system, excuse me, I was reading the same question again. It appears that websites such as NESARA, Galactic News, and Ascension with Mother Earth are releasing information regarding human Earth history and ascension. Are these information outlets you talked about, or are we really talking mainstream media?
No, and you're also talking a probable problem with the information itself. As I've stated, your history books, and you can take this far back as you want, are not only inaccurate, they were made that way purposely. They don't want you to know. There are a variety of places that we can get the knowledge back that they have tried to suppress and destroy. So you're going to have a totally new learning curve. Everybody gets to relearn certain portions and types of parts of history that either have been hidden or kept out of the mainstream or kept away from the populace in general on purpose. So these things are all going to change.
Okay. Poofness mentioned there will be two messengers, biblical, coming from forefront to tell the world what's going on. Are you aware of this? Any idea who the messengers might be?
Oh, boy. Yes, no, and I'm not going to tell you what's happening in the future on that particular level at all.
Okay. Will UK housing cuts be stopped? People being forced to move out as only part of their money is recovered.
This again goes to the financial part, and the financial part is not written in stone yet. All of the agreements have not been made. Now, I will suggest whatever's right will be accomplished. May not be right away, but it will be accomplished. So figure what that might be, how it should look, and what the structure will be, how it's going to be done and all that. Then you got a handle on it.
Okay. Okay, Earth/Human History channeled sources, Monty Keene, are saying the Irish are the Egyptian progenitors does not seem plausible. My suspicion, whoever has the books from the archives from the Library of Alexandria, or at the Vatican, has the truth to the real planetary and human history as well as spiritual knowledge. Your thoughts, Drake?
That would be all well and good, except what you're reading about in terms of the Irish history is more correct than what you'll find that you can get a hold of from the Vatican. The Vatican does not want you to know. They are an intrinsic part of the cabal. Now, I don't know if anybody paid attention, but the Vatican Bank and J.P. Morgan and money laundering, then you have the other portions of corruption, the abuses, and et cetera. I'm going to say that institution is not right. So therefore, I would suggest what they have in terms of that probably has been falsified until you get back to the origins. And those origins are, some are not even in the Vatican, even though they'll say they are. There's a couple of areas that people are not aware of. The Library of Alexandria did keep a great deal of knowledge, but it didn't hold all of it. So go from there.
Okay. Thanks, Drake. It appears, okay, that's another question about the hurricane. If there is a hurricane, are we still going to be, is Global Voice still going to be broadcasting from the Republican National Convention?
Well, we're not looking at broadcasting directly from there. They're going to have people, there are people that are going there that are supposed to send us the stuff, and we are going to live stream it if possible.
Okay.
Whether or not there's a hurricane, whether or not there's a storm that interrupts, take a guess. It could be a factor where they just move the thing inland where you get some rain. Someplace like Orlando or somewhere of that nature, it could be done.
Right.
I don't think that Orlando would appreciate having a Republican National Convention dumped on them, but it's possible they can move to a location different than where they're at to escape the storms a bit. So,
right.
It depends on what happens.
Okay. Drake, do you have any update on the mass arrests for us tonight?
There's a whole bunch of things that are going on that people are not aware of. You're going to have to really hunt and seek to find them. Yeah, I got updates. At the point that we tried to initiate the particular thing you're talking about, everybody clammed up and went and hid in the closet. So you tell me. I'm not real sure what's going on yet, but I will find out, and I will find out very soon. And as soon as I do, you guys are going to get it. I'll either post it or we'll have a show about it or something of this nature. Next.
Okay. Has the percentages changed, Drake, of military forces that are the good guys? What we mean is only the ones that support a new world, inclusive only of peace, supportive of a new financial system, removal of government corruption, etc.
Yeah,
is that getting stronger?
Yeah, it's going up. There are less people satisfied with what's going on than there were before. They're not getting the promises that were made to them. Just like the poor people have not got the promises Obama said he was going to do. The rich people didn't get their promises. The middle class got gutted. Our country's getting screwed up. And he does have the capability to offer some measure of leadership and control in this area, in these areas, and yet he continues to play his whatever game it is and go down the la-la land and not pay attention to it. So go from there.
Okay. Drake, do you think the U.S. along with the U.K. are going to bring Assange from WikiLeaks to our court system, or worse, murder him?
It depends on whether or not he can figure out a way to get out of there, and it depends on whether or not he gets caught when he comes out, if he does, and whether or not he can stand eating takeout food and sleeping on the couch.
Okay. Next question is, do you have any relevant sources to share regarding IRS proceedings, shutdown, etc., and is there anything we can do to help as citizens?
You're going to have to wait on that a bit until such time as the rest of it is attended to. At that point, a lot of things are going to be changed. So, yes, we're going to need a lot of help, and anybody that has expertise in bookkeeping or filing or figuring out puzzles probably would be more than welcome.
Okay, and forgive me if I don't pronounce this word right. Will the deed of trust on our property be converted to an alloidial title? Alloidial?
I know what an alloidal title is. The alloidal title is a process, not a straight issuance. However, that's only according to present law. As present law is changed to fit the common law status, I would suggest that it's a possibility. Now, if you do not have a mortgage on a property, that makes it free and clear your ownership. Your ownership then would have to be converted from a title, as is described now, or a use contract to the alloidal true full ownership. That's the differential, and that has not been addressed as of yet by the people I've talked to. We'll have to wait on that one.
Okay. Will those who have tapped our Treasury account with A4V or other processes be required to return those funds?
No, that's a good question. If they're available to be returned, yes. If they can't find them, no.
Yep. We have some smart listeners and members. We're getting some really good questions. I want to thank all of you. Getting some really good questions. Okay. Do you believe the unreasonably low figures that Sun is giving, saying that China's approximately 1,000 tons of gold is about 1/8 of the total U.S. reserves?
Oh, boy. First of all, there's only 2 or 3 people that know the answer to that, and secondly, I was requested not to out that information, so I'm not going to speak directly to it. I will suggest that if you have sources in the financial realm, specifically in the governments of the countries that you're talking about, then you may be able to get a general idea. You're not going to get specifics. So check it out, figure it up, and then go from there.
Okay. Does the United States actually own any gold at all, or is the gold that is called U.S. gold reserves actually just owned by the Fed?
Oh, boy.
By the Fed, wasn't it?
Well, yes and no. There are contracts and things of that nature that deal with what's called gold collateral, the collateral accounts, the issuance of gold certificates from the United States government to the collateral accounts for usury of their gold have not been honored. In other words, they have broken the contract. At the point that the contract has been broken, the problem comes then that these are known as call accounts, meaning that if, for any reason, you violate the terms of the contract in total can be called. Now, you also have to remember there is between 3.5% and 4% per annum interest, only payable in gold bullion. No payments may be made other than in gold bullion. So the problem we're going to have is, guess what? Jig's up. You owe so much on the credit card, heave it up. Oh, yeah, it's got to be in gold. And everybody's going to go, oops. So, here you go.
Okay. Drake, how can we trust Russia, India, China if Goldman Sachs is involved with the BRICS?
Well, you got to remember that Goldman Sachs does not have the final word. The person who is ultimately responsible for Goldman Sachs does, as others have total responsibility for places like Walmart, which is pretty good sized, and others. These individuals are the ones that call shots. So just being involved does not necessarily mean that it's not retrievable in terms of getting a country back on a, quote, righteous path, so to speak, or cleaning it up, or however you want to look at that. Next.
Excuse me, Drake. Can I interject a quick question here where you're on this subject?
No.
Is there any truth to the fact that all of the ammunition that the government has purchased with our tax dollars is being put into the hands of Russia and China and Mexico as we speak so that they can attack us?
Well, that's an interesting question. I don't know of anybody that's a decent businessman right now who would be stupid enough to trust the government to pay them. So personally, I wouldn't have anything to do with them on a business basis. The second part is that they're relatively broke. So some of these final things, last gasp efforts and whatnot, are putting them in a squeeze. Third, the propaganda fear machine is cranked up at high levels. Now, you're going to hear that, you're liable to hear one morning that the nukes have been fired from China. They decided to blow us up instead of deal with us. What you got to remember in all this is that these used to be adversaries. China used to be an enemy. So did Russia. Now, one of the bigger markets on the planet is the United States. And it would take a dummy to shoot the goose that laid the golden egg and keeps your little moneymaker running. So I kind of doubt all of this stuff in a lot of ways. However, there are certain entities and individuals who would definitely, without a qualm, without a hesitation, do such things. So you got to look into it. The look that I've taken into it is that I could not confirm that. Whether it's real or not is either outside my reach or it's something that's not happening. One of the two. You can take your pick. Next.
Okay. Question for Drake. Was Neil Keenan's handler just murdered or killed? Dr. Michael Vandermeer reported yesterday at RMN News, a voice of one.
I will make a suggestion that nobody tells Neil Keenan he's got a handler. I don't think you'd like the results. He will fly clear across the globe just to grab you by the throat and explain to you that that's horse hockey. Now, there's a little bit on the obtuse side where things like that come to play. He does not have anybody in charge of Mr. Keenan. I've been able to squeeze some things out of him if I insist. That's only because we're friends and he is careful what he releases. So you got to remember the working relationship that Neil Keenan and I have does go a lot deeper than just a business arrangement or anything of this nature, or the fact that trillions of dollars in gold, cha-ching, and my eyeballs light up in gold color or something every time I talk to him. That ain't the case. I don't personally have a lot of use for a lot of money. I mean, you can only spend so much no matter what all you do. And, I see these things as relative to what the design they were intended to be, that they get used for that and that only. They're designed for humanitarian purposes, not, So, with Neil in charge, I feel confident because I know what he's doing. And he's explained it to me in detail. I'm going to be partnering with him in terms of releasing these accounts. We're going to work together on this. And to me, it's a great honor to be able to help people that are in a position where they can't help themselves, to get them, that little leg up, that little bit of whatever it takes. So, you go into let's say China just had 2 or 3 typhoons. Iran just had a bunch of earthquakes. Well, if you go in there, you can go in there and you got a construction company behind you. We need a high-rise over there and got to clean that mess up first. Everybody get out of the way and, you know, actually do something instead of playing with the money. That's the difference between what, and so, yeah, I'm comfortable with Keenan all the way around. And like I say, be careful about telling him he's got a handler. He's liable to come prove he don't.
Okay. I'm trying to find the next question. I got some
Maybe I should
here.
Maybe I should take that approach with people going around trying to say I'm a federal plant.
Oh, I agree.
Just fly across the tree and grab him by the throat, and then you and Keenan will get along just fine.
That's right.
Yeah, really. Got lots of questions. How do you think the cabal will respond, if at all, to China stirring up the bottom with all of this talk of gold currency, increasing gold stocks, and building a national physical gold inventory through market purchases and prospecting?
Run the first part of that by me again. That was pretty convoluted.
Yeah. What do you believe that the cabal response will be, if any, to China stirring up the bottom with all of the talk of the gold currency, increasing gold stocks, and building a national physical gold inventory through market purchases and prospecting?
Well, there's not much they can do about it. China's big enough to smack them down if they get out of line too far, and I know that they probably would be willing to do that. So, you know, China is leading one of the leaders in the way that we're going to have to be in order to be free of this problem. Okay.
Okay. What do you think will be? Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce this right either. I'm getting an education. What do you think will be the result for the Western-owned banks via a real asset-based currency to challenge a long-held flat currency or Federal Reserve Bank dollars?
Fiat currency.
Fiat, okay.
We're going to have an American dollar for the first time. It's going to be exchanged 1-to-1. That's the only equitable way to treat people. So then you have to understand that if a bank is not a, quote, Fed affiliate, in other words, heavily involved with the federal operation, they will end up being one of the banks in operation. Outside of that, these banks are going to be closed, and that means a bunch of them are going down the toilet real quick. This is why I'm telling you, don't leave your money in the bank as such, because you don't know exactly when the thing is going to hit the rotating oscillator and make a mess.
Okay.
Next
one's kind of a long question, too. The compromised media work very hard at conditioning people to believe that a civilian insurgence is taking place in Syria against Assad, while Assad forces are killing them for rebellion against the tyranny of the Assad regime. And then this comes out. It's obviously not a homegrown organic movement. In fact, it is not a movement at all, but a covert ops regime change because Assad won't play New World Order ball by the rules. What do our patriotic military have to say about any of this? The rank and file should know that the Syrian operation is completely staged.
Well, that would tell me that the bogus operation is not going to be touched by the U.S. military. They were not going to have boots on the ground, etc. And I understand that Russia has had some say in that. So, you know, you're going to have to play it by ear, see what you find. Next.
Okay. All right. Potentially each hollow-nosed bullet represents a dead American. If so, why would the government want the SSA to kill 174? I don't think it's 174,000 of our citizens. I think it's a lot more than that. But anyway, even during a time of civil unrest.
Well, it's 750,000 rounds. And I don't see where civil unrest is going to be so extraordinary if Grandma's having to use a walker and trying to beat you with a cane. That does not compute to extraordinary civil unrest. There's been a few fights at Social Security offices. This is why they've got security. They got their own police force and all that. And like I say, you got the whoopee-doo factor in there of flagrant propaganda. And propaganda is something that is sort of true. It's got a little truth in it. Yeah, they did order the bullets, but, I mean, what are you going to have to run a gauntlet to get your Social Security check out of the office? I mean, the guy's going to shoot at you, see if he can get you before you get to the check? Well, I kind of doubt it. You want to go from there?
Okay. Is the positive military currently in the process of correcting the suicide problem, or do they require congressional action first?
They're in the process of addressing their tactical first. Logistics is a part of that. Thirdly will be the morale and problems with the things that happen from the morale problems, such as suicide. Now, I'm going to suggest to anybody that's thinking about suicide, there's two ways to look at that. And I'm going to get into this for the simple fact that I've dealt with a bit of it. First thing I would suggest is don't. And if you want to understand how to get around turning off the mess that you got going in your head, I got a thing listed on my website, AmericanNationalMilitia.com. It's called PTSD. It will alleviate the voices. It will alleviate the flashbacks. It will help you regain control to a great measure. This is why I put it on the website. I developed that personally for selfish, personal reasons. I was loaded with it. Nobody would help me, and I figured out how to treat me. Well, then I wrote it down. I offered it to another guy, and he said, well, can you do this with me? And I said, sure. So we did this. I've done this with several people that I know, and they have gotten better. I'm not going to tell you that you can be cured of it. It's a permanent condition, but you can get it down to where you don't, you won't wake up trying to choke your wife to death, or you won't have a tendency to lock and load and blow the kids out of the doorway with your 12 gauge or any of this. You won't have those severe problems. This will attend to that. So suicide then would be an extreme action, and I wouldn't personally, and my little treatment thing, he says this, don't give the bastard the satisfaction. In this case, it's that savage renegade running around in your mind that the military knows all about, knew it was there, and refused to help you with. Why they refused to help you? Because it cost them something. Now, you know, you can read all about veterans being denigrated, being negated, and being ignored until you come home from battle. You have no idea. I mean, here's a guy standing there twitching because he's so wound up. What do you do for somebody like that? You hold out your hand. Okay. I would also hold them out that PTSD treatment because it'll help them quit. It'll help them not have to worry about it. It'll help them sleep at night, things like that. And that's the object.
Okay.
I'm here to help. So there you go. Everybody enjoy that. Use it. If you know somebody that has served, make sure that they get a copy. If you have to download it and print it out, do so. Some people are afraid of it. They do not want to think that they have a mental weakness that could actually be dangerous not only to themselves but to someone else. That's an admission of weakness. Most people want to be strong, and it don't matter what gender they are. So the proof of the strength is attending to your own. That's how come that you don't see a lot of bodies laying out on the battlefield. When they get injured or hurt or even dead, we bring them back. The families need to have the dead person to bury. We need to see whether or not we can help the person that got injured, and we need the satisfaction to know we helped somebody who needed it and used the hand that was there to catch them so they didn't fall over. And that's basically where it's at. Next.
Okay. We're going to try and go some rapid fire here, Drake, because we got like about 20 minutes left, and I'm going to ask our guests once again, if we might take some overtime again. We just can't avoid overtime, but anyway. Okay, Drake, what is the blue book that Bill Clinton and Queen Elizabeth are on? Or in on, excuse me.
That's part of the financial history, and shows the heritage, family lines, bloodlines, things of that nature, among other things. Go in there and study as much as is open to you, and learn as much as you can, because that's the real deal.
Okay. What is your take, advice, or plans as it pertains to the 6th of September presentation by M.T. Kishi to the world leaders again, and what will happen from that day onwards?
Well, that's a good question. Depends on whether or not he brings some of this extraordinary technology out in the open well enough to see what it really is, and how much it would cost me to build one if I went to Radio Shack and bought the parts. It depends on what he actually does. Now, Kishi's they're right on. I can tell you that because I looked at some of the stuff that they do and what they have, and I understand how some of it works. So we'll see.
Okay. Greg, do you know anything about Lady Dragon recently put something on her website about Freedom Club USA on her website, and it is supposed to help individuals with their debt. They pay out certain amounts of cash, $150,000 for each credit card, mortgage, etc. But you have to become a member and pay an initial $300 to join. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it, and I personally am not involved with it. It was offered to me, and I turned it down. What's in your debt that Terry Hinkle has 3 nights a week, beat the debt collector, whatever that is, that link's on our website, right, Denise?
I do believe it is, yes.
Okay. My suggestion would be to go there. Now, in terms of foreclosure, they're not really set up for that, but you can get the information as to where to go to find out who is. All the rest of it is there. Now, debts, depending on what the situation is, depends on whether or not you're liable for them or obligated to pay them and things of this nature. So you'll have, the best thing I would say would be to get in touch with her on that link, or listen to their show, get on there and talk, ask questions, and go from there.
Okay. Well, here's a loaded question, and I don't know if we can work on this or what. Can you give us a step-by-step process to make our insurrection?
Yeah. I would suggest that the military contact me. I would suggest that we coordinate plans from there, and I'll suggest further that we can do this in a period of less than, or I'd say 72 hours is about right when it's actually initiated. I think we're already pretty much prepared to do so. So I'd say we could have a weekend party for everybody if they wanted to. And after we come out the other side, then we're going to have to make sure that things are set in such a manner that this cannot happen again. Excellent.
Okay. Gentry Carr asks, should I attempt to perform a citizen's arrest on Obama?
Do you live where he lives? That's first question. Number 2, have you prepared the paperwork according to the instructions on the website? Number 3, do you have that secondary citizen with you in order to address Congress, if you're going to do that? Third or fourth, do you have the capability of getting in the door? So you got to answer all those questions first, and if all of them are yes, then you have about next to nothing chance of getting it done.
Yeah, snowball's chance in hell, huh?
Along there, yeah.
Okay. Will the new financial system force us to receive a mark in or on our body in order to buy or sell things, either a microchip maybe or barcode? And will there be a single individual who becomes the political world leader?
My goodness gracious. That sounds like something out of the book of Revelations to me. And no, I'm not going to put up with that. Nobody's going to charge me. Nobody's sticking nothing up my whatevers. And they ain't stamping nothing on my forehead. So I guess they're going to have to get along without me.
Help me too.
I wouldn't go for it myself. Okay. Let's see. My task 4 is waiting for marshals to give the work. Who is making the cases? How do we help citizens and prosecutors and judges, advocates, generals? I am a student of Winston Shrout. I will file UCC's, this is obviously a foreign person, I'm sorry, UCC's one all day. We need a leader. So I'm having trouble reading that question, I'm afraid.
Okay, don't worry about it. Here's what you need to do. You need to make sure that Winston is on board with you on this, number one. Now, number two, you need to follow the examples given in terms of what can be done as to the work that Winston has already done. I know Winston personally, and he's willing to assist you in as much as possible in making sure that what work you do is correct, so that you don't get in trouble with it, et cetera. So I'm going to refer you to Winston. Get in touch with the man. He's really great. I've not met a finer person, and I haven't met one that knows his stuff any better either. So there you go.
Okay. I think this might have come from your interview with Alfred Weber. I heard Drake mention an article on telepathy that we could read. Where could I find that article?
It's not an article. It's a book. I don't know if you can get it or not. It may be out of print. I'm not sure. It's called Telepathy, How It Works, or How Telepathy Works. Either of those two books would be excellent, and you can go hunt for them, and I don't know if you can find them or not. There are a lot of articles on the subject, and you can get instructions through a magazine called Times. They're fairly good about that. Next.
Okay. What might happen to auto, home, and flood insurances after the collapse of the financial event?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not really sure. I would think you'd want to keep what you got. So I would imagine insurance will continue, but it'll be a lot more honest. Okay?
Okay, so continue paying premiums and stuff, right?
I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work.
Okay. Has any information... Well, okay, never mind. The whole question isn't there. How did you find out, Drake, that you were a part of the ET program? Was it Project Civilian?
It's the Civilian Project, and I found out through two or three different sources. Some of it is in government archives, and I doubt anybody on this show has the capability of having a security clearance high enough to even access some of that info. Part of it was my family told me portions of it, and part of it I decided to check while I still had a fairly decent security clearance. And things of that nature. I also asked some people to check my records, and they did, and they found out a couple of things. And I further told them what level they'd have to have in order to see those records.
Okay.
Talking the very highest security clearances you can get into, okay?
Okay. Drake, why are they dumping insecticides for the past 3 days very heavily over populated areas near Dallas, Texas? Or maybe are they more effectively applying their chemtrails? CBS News is saying that it is to combat West Nile virus. When is this insanity going to stop?
It'll probably stop about the same time as we attend to the existence of the West Nile virus, which is coming as soon as we get some of these advanced technologies. The other part of it is I don't like bloodsuckers, and that's what mosquitoes are, and I don't know that they serve a realistic purpose. So therefore, I would suggest we may get rid of mosquitoes, and I think that would just make everybody real happy.
Drake, is this going to happen fast? Because how am I going to handle a summons from a creditor? I'm scared of being sued by Chase Bank.
Well, go and get in with the what's in your debt, stop debt collectors now, or whatever it is on our website. They will definitely help you address that.
Okay. And that would fall under the links. I think we have Terry Hinkle and her links, but I will double check that immediately following the program so that we have a clear link to the financial stuff from Terry. Okay. Okay, just wondering how Sheriff Joe Arpaio his information about Obama's forged birth certificate can or will be used to get rid of him?
We're going to have to wait on that. They have not made their final decision as to what action they want to take, and it's not quite time yet. Next.
Okay. Let's see. My estimate by individual comments, there will be in excess of 30 million looking to affiliate themselves with a militia. Will they be ready with equipment and personnel?
Yeah, there's the base requirement. It used to be that the militias were the National Guard and they issued weapons. I suggest you got a good hunting rifle and a pistol, and some kind of set of fatigues, and I'm going to suggest camouflage. You should be reasonably good to go. You don't need a lot of equipment beyond that in order to be active on a militarized basis. Joining a militia is not necessarily just all about guns. There's a lot of other things that everybody needs to concentrate on. Whether they're actually teaching things correctly in each of the militias, I don't think anybody really knows. We're just kind of, I mean, hopefully they do. If you feel like something's lacking, ask them about it. Well, when am I going to learn how to cook? You know, or whatever it is you don't know how to do. People need to learn to sew. They need to learn how to work a little leather, minor stuff. And I'm talking about taking a Bowie knife, making a hole in a piece of leather, and turning it into something that you really need. I'm not talking about getting into stitching leather necessarily or anything like that. So there's a lot that can be learned. Next.
Okay. Isn't the sheriff's jurisdiction limited only to his immediate county? What good would it do me to go, and I don't know where this gentleman lives, but what good would it do me to go ask the sheriff to arrest Eric Holder or Hillary Clinton unless they were in the county where you request the arrest? I don't want to be laughed out of the sheriff's office if I go and request that they be arrested.
Well, then, if you follow the procedures that I have outlined on the website in terms of what a citizen's arrest is and the other two articles, you have to comply with those, and you have to, it's best if you live in the jurisdiction in which you're requesting the arrest. If you don't live in that jurisdiction where the man's at, somebody else who does, and go from there. This is one of the base requirements. It was asked of me why I didn't go arrest people. Well, I don't got jurisdiction that goes across state lines. I got jurisdiction within the place in which I live. That's the county, because my county of residence is my chief law enforcement officer, the sheriff. Therefore, so that's the requirement.
And I have a question to interject here, if I may, please. We've got a gentleman out here by the name of Jack Chapman. He said he has just one question for you. He cannot believe that the guilty parties in our government are not aware of what is going on all around them. He wants to know how they can continue to function like nothing is going on.
Well, that's easy. It's called arrogance. It's called immunity. It's called nothing happened to Eric Holder, and look what he did. So we can do anything we want. That's the attitude. And this is why, this is one of the main reasons they also need to be all removed and start over. Next.
Wipe the slate clean. Absolutely. Okay. Rick, Minuteman, are militias illegal in Florida?
No.
Okay, so militias are legal in Florida. Okay.
They are. There is a certain way you have to go about it in each state. You look at the state constitution. If the clause is in that state constitution for a citizen's militia, it is completely legal.
Okay. Let's see. Gotta scroll up a little bit. Excuse me just one moment. Let's see. Were you a part of the JUMP program? Any connection to the military? Any connection to the military visiting you at a young age? You once mentioned that you were the White Dragon and 18,000-year-old prophecy that you were to fulfill. Can you tell us a little bit more?
You're going to have to look the White Dragon up on your own. I'm going to let you figure it out. As far as a JUMP program, no. As far as one of the originators of a lot of the mind control operations that are present now and then, I was one of the people who led some of that because they would ask me questions about certain things that answered questions they had so that they could further develop their programs. Next.
Okay. Got about 7 minutes left. I was a Jehovah's Witness for 15 years until the verbal symbology finally clicked and I pulled out. Please let me know the relationship between these entities, groups, and the whole Children of the Sun matter.
The relationship's
That's pretty entailed.
The relationship's not as strong as you might think. It's also a little bit different than what is stated, so unless you get directly involved, I doubt you'll know. Okay.
Let's see. I'm originally from Iran. I've noticed much Illuminati presence in their government buildings, TV, movies, and other media, especially in the recent 10 years. In one of your recent updates, you reported some top Illuminati families moving to India. Do you believe that this is because of the Zoroastrian roots? If so, why do you think they didn't move to Iran, where it originated and where leadership takes orders from them anyway?
So they can be closer to the mountains and escape easier if need be.
Okay. After the change, will it be structured so that we can do commerce without giving up our sovereignty?
Yes.
Okay. With the UCC Uniform Commercial Code and Admiralty Law, the UCC Uniform Commercial Code and Admiralty Law survive the change? Aren't these the imperial bankers' laws? Would they be modified for constitutional use?
You're going to have a variety of different structuring. The maritime law or admiralty law, as people talk of it, has no place on dry land except in the situation where you have a bankruptcy and you come under international control financially. So as we regain our control, that goes back out to sea and you get common law back. The UCC is in part a form of common law. It has some of the parameters in it, but primarily is designed for commercial contract law. And I think the whole thing can be extraordinarily simplified from what it is now. Next. Okay.
Let's see. I recently received my permit to carry and am talking with my county sheriff. She regretfully stated that her role as sheriff is very limited due to the statutes. Can you tell me what we do in this case? I must say I was rather surprised. I say screw the statutes. So is this job security, or are her hands possibly really tied? And she does not state what state she lives in.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't advise people on what their state law is until I look it up. Everybody's been told to do their own homework. What you need to do is, as Rick stated, you got to look at the Constitution in terms of what the allowance is. Secondly, you also have to look at the statutes and whether or not there is exception to certain things you understand as being fact when the law may state otherwise. If there is a constitutional question in it, you can actually challenge the law and cause it to be changed. So there's a variety of different things in that. The other part of it is to look up what a sheriff and what their stature and standing is. You will find that that person can overrule anybody. That is the top law enforcement in that particular area called a county. Next.
Okay.
Supreme Court ruling, by the way.
The what?
That is a Supreme Court ruling.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Rick. Were the military that were at the mass shooting in Colorado among the bad guys or the good guys?
Was that the movie theater?
Well, it says the mass shootings in Colorado on a Thursday night.
I think that was the movie theater.
I think that was the theater. I think that's the only mass shootings in Colorado.
Here's the problem. First of all, who was shot? Second of all, who was killed? Third, what and who were these people that were injured or terrorized? who were the people that were in the theater? This is a question everybody has to look at. You're going to find a combination of both law enforcement and military and others that show up at things like this. Now, I think it's kind of odd that people could get there as quickly as they did. I think it's kind of odd that there were reported multiple shooters. I think it's kind of odd that people would question good guy, bad guy. If these people came through that side door from the outside, then they were not part of the audience. Now, if somebody's part of the audience, they may be subject to the intimidation of that particular type, or it could be that you want to show them what you can do if they don't listen to what you got to say. And you got to remember, these are bad guys that you're dealing with that do that stuff. Then you got to wonder, where did these guys come from? If they're in a military uniform and they're watching a movie, that's what they're doing. I mean, what, are they going to hit the guy with a bag of popcorn? I mean, that's not really too lethal of a weapon. So my suggestion, and everybody can do what they want to with this, is that the Second Amendment does not end at a business's doorstep. If I know that I'm going into a business and it says don't carry a gun in here, I'll hide that sucker in my underwear or something. The gun's going with me. And for just exactly the reason that nobody was armed in that theater, it's got a little sign that says, no, 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 leave it in the car. Well, I'm going to suggest that if there had been somebody in there who was trained, knew what they were doing, oh, yeah, you're going to shoot in a dark theater. Well, anybody that's trained, has experience, knows to shoot at the muzzle flash. That's how you target somebody when you can't see them. If somebody has a semi-automatic weapon and they're going around and they're really trying to do mass damage, you're going to have a pretty good target to follow. You got to remember that, the reason you carry a gun, if people do, is to protect your family against 5, 6 hooligans that can just, tear you guys up or hurt your kids or whatever. This is the reason. The other part is that some people do not understand the difference between enjoying life and making it into a criminal career. And that's one of the main problems we got. So I'm going to suggest that, you got a concealed carry permit. Don't worry about taking it into a place that says it's got a sign that says, no, you don't. Because if it comes down to life and death and you shoot somebody, they're going to want the gun. Well, where'd you shoot him from? Was you inside here? Don't you have a sign? Don't you have a sign that tells people not to do that? And he says, yeah, I took it down a few minutes ago. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay, Drake, we have 2 minutes left of airtime. We will, if you will permit us, go into overtime for callers and these last few questions. If you had closing remarks, want to share?
Sure. Get her done.
Rick?
I'm going to ditto that statement.
Okay, and Grammy, are you going to ditto that too?
I'm going to ditto that.
I'll ditto it 4.
Can I interject something?
Sure, Paul.
Sure.
Okay, globalvoiceradio.net will continue the stream into overtime. If you're connected to the stream and it goes silent, just refresh your browser and then click play again, because it'll switch over to the overtime after show.
Oh, and I would like to thank you, Paul, very much. You are helping us immensely with backup and providing services for people to listen back on the phone and everything else. So I want to thank you very, very much for that, and we will have more information on all of that forthcoming.
Yeah.
So I want to
have you with us, Polly. Yes,
we're glad to have you back on board with us. And with that, we're going to take a couple-minute break. You can continue listening through the other medium. It'll just shut off on the Blog Talk player. So we will see you on our next program on Sunday, and until then. Okay, we are back, and I'm going to open the mics again. Okay, and it looks like we may have lost Minuteman. I I do believe, though, he has a show going on this evening on his network, so that may be why he may have had to go, if I'm not mistaken. So, but with that, I think I caught all the questions that were for him. So. We had just a couple more written questions, Drake. Let's go ahead and see if we can get her done. Okay, Drake, White House insider issues a warning, false flag is planned for the GOP convention. Do you think so?
I keep hearing a lot of rumors about this, that, and the other thing, and found out that most of it was false. So
false.
Whatever, yeah. So what the false flag might be is really going to be an interesting question for people to look for. Now, I do know
false flag may be a hurricane that's not coming, right?
Never know. Here's the thing: there are a lot of people down there that are known to different people, and they're going to be reporting. And if there's some kind of fun and games, it will be reported, and it will not be whitewashed mainstream media BS. It will be the real deal. That's a little bit different than what they've had before. Funny thing is, they know we're coming. So last time we put a presence out, people decided that what they had in mind was not a good idea. And this is the sort of thing that I look forward to. So there we go.
Okay. This is kind of a multiple question, Drake. Do you know about the Urantia, URANTIA book? And if you do you believe in it to be true, since it is supposed to be the fifth revelation to mankind?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah, I read some of it, and yeah, I've looked it over, and yeah, I've talked to people about it, and that's a good question, but the people I've checked with that supposedly know these things are saying that it's iffy at best. Now, you got to remember that you're dealing with ancient languages, for one. Number two, each of the languages was a little different. You got the southern drawl, you got the New York accent, you got a Chicago accent, then you got the Freedom out in Colorado, or out in California. So you have to understand that there might be a differential. Now, it might sound sort of southern, but I'll tell you right now, you go talk to a rancher in Texas and you talk to somebody in Alabama, and that drawl is different, okay?
Absolutely.
Then, under that, you have what's called culturalism, and culturalism is the culture at the area, in the area specifically, where the things were spoken or mentioned. Within that, you have what's called cultural inflection. Now, when you get into linguistics, you want to take this a step further, you have what's called inferred meaning. This also is true of simple cultural ceremony being a little different in different places. Inferred meaning can mean when you say one thing in one part of the country, it means something totally different in another. So you have to be able to identify all of these particulars if you really want to understand whether something's genuine, and you have to know where it was written, basically. Most of the groupings of scrolls have what's called a father scroll, or, oh, good grief, can't think of the name of it. Anyway, it's kind of like a map key, and I can't think of the name of it. Cipher, that's what it is. The cipher explains tribes, the interrelation between the tribes, the area that it comes from, and some of the base cultures. So the cipher, if it was with this, would be critical. Now, unless you can absolutely identify a specific as to where this was at. Then you have a combination of fun and games in the difference between both spoken and written linguistics. The linguistic rules are different according to the area you're in, and the how do you put a drawl, a southern drawl, into a word? That's very difficult. So then also you can say, be nice, and that's kind of a loving sort of thing. I'm not going to be nice. That's a nasty thing. Same word. So you have to know context. You have to know how things were written in those areas. It gets really intricate.
Okay.
You'll find this especially true in biblical reference. So.
Right, because they go on. Yeah, they go on. They said, having read the book 30 years ago, they have tried to live their life based on the teachings of this book, and they wanted to know if maybe that was their awakening.
Well, it could be. It could be, because the thing is, if you live by principle, and those principles are basically creational in nature, which is something I've touched on in a couple of different shows. If you live that way and you start reaping rewards for living that way, you know you're on the right track. Now, the reward might just simply having things go right. In other words, when you open the door, it don't fall off the hinges, you know, whatever.
Right.
And other people will start looking at it going, huh, how do you do that? And this is called spreading the word, so to speak. I don't agree with religiosity in any form. I do not agree with most of the belief systems that are on this planet. Most of them are squirreled around, convoluted, and changed to the advantage of those people who run the place. And that's a no-no. So it's not easy to discern these things. Next.
Okay. I have no credit card, no loans, no mortgages, no debt that I know of. What a great person. Okay. If all debt will be forgiven, then would there be any reason that I couldn't start using a credit card or even buy a new card and just pay the minimum until they erase all debt?
I'll let you make that decision. I'm not gonna. There's no reason not to. There's no reason to. If I was out of debt, I'd stay that way. I'm not.
Yeah, I wouldn't start now.
At least at this point. And like I said, we don't know if NESARA is going to be brought into effect or not. So, it's kind of a gamble in some ways. But I do know that the financial structure is going to change, as I said, extraordinarily, and we'll go from there.
Okay, I'll thank our callers for their patience. I have a couple more, three more questions. Is it absolutely guaranteed, Drake, that the judge will rule in Keenan's favor?
If he does not want to be a party to the lawsuit, I would suggest the boy behave, and the law dictates exactly what he's supposed to do. Unless he wants to become a defendant, I would strongly suggest that the man follow what it states that is to be done. Next. Okay,
because it says, isn't it likely that the judge in Keenan's case could be pressured or threatened by the cabal?
Well, now, you got to know that he's the son of one of the Kabbalists. Okay, or brother to one of them or something like that. So the relationship's already there. The situation is simple. If he doesn't want to lose each and every last thing that he owns, then I would strongly suggest that the man toe the line as to the correct rulings in terms of what that case stipulates. And that's as far as I can go with it, okay?
And then and the one thing, and I don't know if this statement would be correct or not, Drake, he closed it by saying, and isn't the Federal Reserve exempt just like Goldman Sachs?
Nobody is above the law, don't care who they think they are, and who thinks that they are in that condition. Goldman Sachs is going to be prosecuted, and it'll probably burn to the ground financially, as will a lot of these people that think they're God or whatever and have the right to rule us, which they do not. So there's going to be a lot of insidious exchange in this whole process at one point or another. The thing is that the evidence stipulates that they cannot win. It's not Neil Keenan stipulating, it's the evidence. There's a big difference in that.
Mm-hmm.
The manner of presentation in terms of following specific procedure has been met. There's no question as to that. So what we're getting ready to do is basically cause them to self-destruct. They will have no choice but to declare insolvency because they cannot address any portion of any significance of the total of what was borrowed, stolen, or whatever. Therefore, they become insolvent, which negates their capability to operate as a bank, period. It's in the charter. So they lose their charter, they lose the bank, they lose their butt. Now, The other part of this is that the holders of the liens against the bank can come after anyone who was inured or enriched in any manner through the illicit activities. So, you know, there's a lot of people that can go to jail for this, for what they've done. So here we go. We'll see what happens.
Okay. 2 more written questions and then just a couple callers, Drake. Okay, I watched a video about all of the strange animal deaths, flocks of birds falling out of the sky, dead dolphins beaching themselves. What took place, it all took place starting back in March, along with the many, many tornadoes and rash weather events, like the tornadoes that covered 10 states in just over 2 days. Any reason for all of that? Are they tied together?
They're tied together, and it's called planetary engineering, and having idiots that are supposed to do one thing and do another, and or do not know what they're doing. You cannot play with things like HARP. You cannot play with seismic machines. You cannot play games with the planet and Mother Nature. It has a tendency to come back
Mother Nature.
It has a tendency to come back and bite you. Consequently, most of these were artificial events. The weather, and I'm going to stipulate this very clearly, over the past 50 years, if you take a look at it, you will find that the weather has changed dramatically. And it is not climate change BS that everybody is stipulating. It's called planetary or global engineering. Like I said, I'm staring at this HR 2977. Space Preservation Act of 2001. So I would suggest you take a look. It states in there chemtrails. It states in there electronic, psychotronic, and information weapons, among other things. It's all listed. So if you want to know, it's here. And like I said, I'm going to validate this. And if we got it, then we're going to put it up so everybody knows, because people do need to know. It's not, I'm not playing games. Chemtrails are real. I can't help it that people are going to deny everything. Does that mean that they're a part of the bad guys? That's a good question. It may be something that needs to be asked. You know, there's a lot that goes into this. So, you know, go from there.
Yeah, and isn't it like everything else, Drake? I mean, you know, there are, I'm sure, useful purposes for some of these things. It's just that they've fallen into the hands of evil and are used for evil, but could also possibly be used for, you know, well-being or goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, last question from the chat and email, and that's, recently my neighbor was diagnosed with brain cancer. His wife told me that he kind of talks random thoughts. Well, I was talking to him yesterday, and I noticed that he had a Freemason ring on. I asked him about it, and he answered, I am a 32-degree Master Mason. After that, he said to me that your house is on the list. I tried to ask him what this list is and what he was talking about, and he said nothing more. Do you know if there is a list that has to do with the Masons and what he was talking about, or do you think it's just the brain cancer talking?
You don't know, and you won't know until you find out that you're on the list, if there is a list. So,
okay.
Yes, no, kind of, sort of, maybe. It's possible. It's also just as possible that it's the illness that's messed with his mind, and he's not stipulating correct things. Take a guess.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think we're ready to take. We have just a few callers, Drake. All right. We got Mimo in Baltimore. Mimo, you're live. Well. Mimo? Mimo may not be live anymore. He may have fallen asleep. Okay, well, let's try Shelley. Shelley from New York. Are you still with us, honey?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine, dear.
I wanted to get this on Sunday's show, but I want Drake's opinion. I'm considered a light worker. I've experienced 2 NDEs in my life. I've known since I was very young that I was here for a purpose. I'm also a retired tax accountant, and I'm looking forward to taking down the IRS. Speaking of chemtrails, Sunday, they had loaded our skies totally up here. And when I was driving up the road to go to my home, there was this one that stood out like a sore thumb. It was an exact replica of the Masonic symbol with the compass, the engineer square, etc. I had to stop my truck and get out to try to take pictures of this. Of course, cut it off because the sun, the way it hit. But I stopped everybody on the road that I could see that were out, say, look at that symbol. And everybody agreed. During this time, I have a trained Walker Coonhound. He was sitting in my truck. His head goes out the window, and he starts howling at the same time. Now, he never has done this before. But I was sent a message. I'm connected. I'm in tune with the energies. And this message came through to me as stating, this is basically coming from the pilots, their way of letting people know that, hey, this is who's responsible for these chemtrails. Our lives are at stake. Please help us. In other words, this was a symbol, hoping somebody would see this, saying, we know that what we're doing is wrong, due to, with the chemicals.
Help us to stop them, yeah.
Yes, and I took this because the way I received the message, because I am very connected to the higher ups, and this is the way it came down through me. The pictures that I did take, of course, I've been writing to our local senators here, and of course, they remain mute and don't come back with anything.
Of course.
And one other thing I would like to know is, does Drake know about Sheldon Neidl? And if he does, what's his opinion? Because Sheldon Neidl is not a channeler per se. He has a direct link. I'll let him respond.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And God bless.
You're welcome. And thank you. Sheldon Neidl is probably one of the few that's pretty much correct, and you got to predicate that with pretty much. A lot of people will find that people who are connected also find out that their sources and the people that give them information are also talking about future event. Now, the problem with the future event is that it is not written in stone until it happens. So this is why predictions is something I shy away from. I can get extraordinarily accurate if need be, but that's not my place. Each individual needs to learn how to do that so that they then can be proficient and know their own truth. This is where that goes. The problem you're going to have with any kind of representative is that they're a wholly owned subsidiary of the cabal. That's true of almost every elected official. There's a few in there, not many, but there's a few in there that are not. You're not going to get anything out of the system. This should be obvious that we don't have a justice system. We do not have representatives that can hear, so you're not going to get actions on chemtrails. I have already tried to get some people to take care of those things, and I was told to shut up. So I'm going to see if there are not some other avenues to address these things. We'll go from there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Did Denise get lost in the shuffle?
No, I was transferring over to, we have Colin in Colorado. Colin, you're live.
How's it going there, Drake?
I'm not sure yet, but it depends on your question, I guess.
Well, I have a question, obviously. Sometime back, I've been studying up on the financial rabbit holes and ran into the OITC and the Honorable Dr. Ray C. Dome. And I'm trying to figure out how he ties into the global settlements. I guess they used to call it the World Global Collateral Accounts at that time. And I know that is he tied in with Keenan, or is he more dishonorable than honorable?
What's the name again? Her name?
The organization is known as the OITC.
Oh,
and
OITC.
Honorable Dr. Ray C. Dahm was in charge of the World Collateral Accounts at one time.
Not really.
From all the research that I did.
Not really. And OITC is bogus. The OITC has attempted on several occasions to mess up procedures and steal the funds for their own use. So,
mad all the time.
You know, it's not up to me about what they do. It's up to me to report it, and I can't help the facts of what they've done. You have to remember that some of what Neil has been involved with is also people that worked at the OITC, and they started causing problems, and basically he had to deal with them. And when nip came to tuck, it's like the website shows. As far as I know, Neil Keenan is the only man who has the legal right to fully represent the collateral accounts. And that document's also posted on the website, as I said. So until someone can come up with something that is valid in terms of provable, such as that particular document stating otherwise, I will assume that Mr. Keenan is doing what he was told to do for the people who have taken care of these accounts for so long, in terms of they're not liking the way the money is being used, and they want their money back. And these are call accounts, so therefore that's what Mr. Keenan is doing, is calling the account. So if somebody else was inclined to access the collateral accounts, one of the stipulations and basis for their existence is to the betterment of mankind as a whole, all across the planet. So these funds are going to be used in such a manner that humanitarian needs, among other needs, will be met. And that's basically where the difference lies between OITC and Mr. Keenan. Okay?
And one more question. Have you ever heard of Forest Aviation?
Yes.
And they're running their operation, I believe, in the Boneyard of Arizona. Is that correct?
That's one part of it.
Okay.
I'm not going to get real specific on a lot of things simply because I don't play the catch game. Okay?
I'm just trying to figure it out myself. I just thought you might bring some clarity to both of
well,
those.
And this has been witnessed by several people, several different occasions, where ETs are following these chemtrail planes around and shooting them down if they don't come listen to them. So, I'm ever hopeful that somebody's going to address it. It's obvious that the people who are owned by the people who want to kill us all through the chemtrails or whatever have every intent of doing so and not stopping. So, until we get rid of it and straighten it up, that's the way it's going to be.
All right.
I have a question, Dre.
Okay, Colin, thank you so very much for your question.
What question you got?
Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting you, Drake, and I'm sorry, sir, that I interrupted you when you were trying to finish up with Denise. I apologize. There's a question out here on the Facebook page from a gal. Marilyn Branson asks, have those that have had contact had a more focused psychic attack, manipulation from the bad guys, that your average person as a form of intimidation to keep silent? I'm not talking about those who think they channel. Could this extra pressure possibly extend to the immediate family members as well? If so, how does one protect against it? If so, has this been deterred?
Primarily it's being brought under control. Now, there's a problem with protection in that you have to learn how to do that for yourself. There's varying places you can find out how things work. If you're a novice and you do not know anything, start out with a combination of transcendentalism, because that's the transient state, and it is one of the very best bases for learning the rest of the psychic sciences. As you progress, there are a lot of books that are okay in terms of teaching you these things in how you present yourself to yourself, look within yourself, and actually operate the varying capabilities you have. So it depends on what your situation is. If you're not an insider in terms of knowledge, or you're not a top person in an opposing entity or firm, then you should not be being attacked. Right now, what they're after is the most critical people they can find in order to stop what we're doing, and that's called freedom. Okay?
Thanks so much, caller. Really appreciate your call. All right, we have Chase from Atlanta. Chase, your mic is open.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hey.
No.
Hey, Drake. I have like two questions, maybe three. First, I'm going to start off, this is kind of a goofy question, but do you know if there's any kind of technology that has to do with working out, exercising?
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Oh, that is just great. And as far as the airlines being shut off for a couple of days, did that happen already?
No.
All right.
So when that particular incident takes place, there'll be notifications all over the place. You won't miss it. It'll be real obvious.
Sounds good. And also a quick last question. Do you know what the Indigos will be doing?
What the who?
Indigos?
The Indigo family, yes.
The Indigos.
Not specifically. Each and every individual, along with individual families or groups, do have certain tasks that they're supposed to perform. Whether they even know specifically what it is before it happens is questionable. My understanding is that the source or creation is supposed to put out a memo to each one of us, go jump in the lake or whatever it is we're supposed to do. And we're supposed to go do it, whatever that is, and it's supposed to help everything out. Okay?
Sounds great. And I just want to thank everyone for what they're doing, and I'm on the right track. So, everybody, thank you.
God bless you, honey.
You too. Bye.
Thank you, Chase. Thank you. Appreciate your call, sir. Okay. Sassy in North Carolina. Let's see. The board's bouncing around. Sassy, are you with us?
I am.
Okay. Did we answer your question, dear?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Someone got
Okay,
close,
honey.
but no.
Okay, my board's bouncing around a little bit because people are hanging up, and I don't know if their cell phone batteries are dying or what. But anyway, go ahead, honey. The mic's open. You're open.
This question's for Drake. I just got on the NASAR site. There's a new posting that is titled "Economic Collapse Fears Lead Governments to Remove Civilian Protections from Military." It says the government can now use the military against the citizens in extreme cases, joining the U.S. and other nation states who have removed the dividing line between civilian and military policing.
They'd like to think they did. I know of about at least 3 million people that are going to object, and they're armed, and if they really want to fight, then, that's what will happen. The problem is that the majority of the military is not going along with this plan of listening to the bad guys. Last I checked, it was running close to 90% who were not going to put up with the idea of martial law being declared. So you can't operate something like the military with those kind of numbers. It don't work that way. So I'm looking at this as a no. Okay?
I didn't know if this was something new or if
no,
you heard anything.
This stuff's been going on for forever. What they're trying to do is say that they can do things when they can't. Now, yeah, people go and they become MPs and or they get special training and or they go on operational training missions and all this other stuff. And people are told, ooh, they're coming to get you, they're coming to get you, and everybody goes and hides in the cellar, and you see the eyeballs blinking out of the windows. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please, the military is not the type of bad guy, woolly booger, boogeyman that everybody has been led to believe. If they were, they wouldn't be keeping them. They'd have to get rid of them, because eventually the boogeyman turns on whoever's in charge or whoever happens to be there. So, you know, it's like telling a vampire, no, you can't bite me on the neck or anyplace else. You know, that only lasts until it gets to a certain point of hunger, and it's going to bite you. That's just how it is. So these are the kind of things you got to look at. You have to remember that the financial end of things is real iffy at best. We've been broke for a while now. People don't realize that because everything, well, it don't seem like it to me. I can still take a buck down to the local whatever and get a Coke or something. Yeah, that's true right now. Now, you also have to remember that they rely upon the financial system that we have in place. They're not outside of that. So you're going to affect a lot of people with financial changes. And when their power base goes, they can't pay the thugs, how are they going to have somebody come get you? Well, you just put the boogeyman in the trash can. So, you know, and this is, yeah, everybody has to understand these basics. Once you understand the basics and really look at it, it becomes very clear, at least to me.
Okay, and someone asked you a question earlier about Erasmus.
Yes.
Can you explain anything about the Omni law that he's talking about?
I'm not going to get into that stuff. You guys are going to have to study it and compare it to other things that are similar. Okay.
Well, do you know if is it a legitimate thing that he's trying to run through Congress?
Let's put it this way. I'll say it again. I'm not going to get into that. There's reasons for me not getting involved in that. What you have to remember is this, okay? Any kind of adjudication, any kind of legal problems, that's adjudication, you know, like the court's going to put you away or whatever, any kind of adjudication and any kind of financial problems that people are having are going to, at the very least, be frozen as soon as this takes place. So you're not going to have to deal with it on a direct basis. Then there will be a case-by-case house cleaning of, is this hold water? Is this legitimate? Does that apply correctly? Are these guys presenting a good case? All kind of questions. When they fail at any one of those, case dismissed. So you're going to have what's called a rocket docket in terms of instead of taking your house away from you like they've been doing, they'll be giving them back, hopefully. This is what we're looking towards. According to the way the things are going to be restructured, this is supposed to be the way it's supposed to be. Okay?
Thanks for all of you do.
Thank you, Sassy. Appreciate your call. All right, Drake, just a couple more quick questions. Okay, let's see. All right, let me just scroll up here just a little bit. Okay, let's see. Drake, can you expound a little bit on whether NESARA will be going into effect or not? Is it like iffy now, or is it just a question of when?
Well, it's a question of combining it with the 5 other ones, or the 5 that it's a part of. It's a question of the finances not written in stone. You're asking for a prediction, and I don't do that because it may or may not be what is finally decided upon. I could suggest that NESARA is a good idea because it takes care of the fraudulent problems, but some of the fraudulent problems are going to be dealt with through Neil Keenan's lawsuit. So you got to look at this in a relative, realistic manner, and it's probable, in my book, that NESARA or something similar to it will be implemented. So, you know, take a guess.
Okay. Drake, are we to expect the banks to go down along with the other things that you spoke of tonight? You know, you were saying things are happening now, and they were wondering if the banks going down was a part of what's happening, like, starting now.
I would tell you to be prepared now, just in case. Okay. It's a good probability that very close to, you know, surprise time, you know, all of a sudden, if the bank's closed and you ain't got no money in your hand, what are you going to do? I mean, you got to go buy gas, and they'd probably still take dollars. So, you know, I'd get a couple of weeks' expenses out at the very least.
Gotcha.
Maybe more than that if you can do that. So, and kind of play it by ear and go from there.
Okay. Let's see. All right. I think there's one or two more questions, Drake. Just one moment. Okay. Paul had a couple questions from you. I don't know if they were from his chat room or what. Paul, you're on with Drake?
No, I actually have questions myself.
Oh, okay.
This is a follow-up question to Marilyn's question. You remember that one where she talked about protecting yourself from negative people that are around you?
Yep.
You remember that question?
Yep.
Well, what I'm wondering is there any credence or is it does it help to introduce scalar energy pendants, scalar energy devices into an area like that? Does that kind of shield people from the negative energy, or can it counteract it, or what?
It depends on which kind of energy it is. My suggestion is that you concentrate. Well, you have to understand that the basic program to harm the people that was going to be broadcast is being directly attended to. So it's not that. It is more than likely probably not going to happen at all. Now, I'm going to say more than likely, probably it's a maybe, okay? It's not. That's a little bit of a future event, and I don't do predictions, or I'm not going to. The other part of it is that the protection has to be on a spiritual level. You have to understand how you physically work in terms of what's called psychic science. The best way that I know to describe that is starting out with transcendental meditation. It teaches you meditation from zero to where you're proficient. And it can do so in one book. It takes a few days, no big deal. When you get done with that one, then it has a recommendation. Usually the good books have recommendations for further reading. And it'll say clairvoyance. It'll say telekinesis. It'll say telepathy, or whatever might be the case. And those would be the books to study into those areas. I would suggest telepathy because it opens more doors than most of the others that I know. Once you get up to snuff on this, then you are in a position to protect yourself. You have some capability and power that can actually cause the mean spirits to leave you alone or not mess with you. Now, if you're not getting attacked, there's no big hurry in learning this. But go ahead and learn what you can. The more you know, the better off you'll be. So there you are.
All right. Thank you.
Any more questions, Paul?
No, I'm good. I'm just sitting here.
Okay. One last question from chat. What is the deal with the Russians, Drake? Are they for or against the peeps of the U.S.?
Depends on which Russians you're talking about. There are a few bad guys in there, but not a lot. Most of Russia has been purged of the Kabbalists. So I would suggest that Russia is more or less on our side, which is kind of interesting because we still consider it an enemy.
Okay. And we have one more caller. Marilyn from California. Marilyn, you are live.
Okay. Hi. Thank you. Drake, being that the courts are benches, which are banks, does that mean when the banks close, the courts will close too?
It means yes. Everything is going to be put on hold until it can be restructured, and that may be a while.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, Drake, we got all the questions answered. And before we ran out of overtime.
I'm getting tired.
I know.
I do need to speak to you, Denise and Drake, for about 5 minutes after the show, please.
Okay, that's fine. I would like to just tell everybody thank you for your patience. Thank you for your cooperation. continue to send your questions in, onefreepeople@gmail.com. During the week, when we are on the air, you can send brief questions that can be answered over the air to drakeanswers@gmail.com. Otherwise, please send them to the One Free People. And we will be in touch with everyone. And with that, good night, and God bless everyone, and we will see you on Sunday.